Hey everybody, and welcome to the 8th episode of the Premodern Showdown series. I'm Michael Hoyp. I'm here with Flint Espel. Say hi, Flint.
Hello, everybody.
And you can see that we have our Wednesday schedule for tonight. We're going to start off with our match between Robin and David. And then our second match tonight is our two current leaders, Jared and Ron. They both have a record of 2-0-1. So one of them is going to remain undefeated, and then one of them is going to drop down a little bit, but still in good position. So for our first match between Robin and David, let's jump over to their decks. We can briefly talk about those. For any of the regular viewers, you've seen these every week, so we're going to go into them pretty quick. So the full English breakfast deck from Robin is a combo deck that works between Survival of the Fittest, which can get any creature into your hand, or actually in the graveyard, which is beneficial as well, and then the card Volrash Shapeshifter. And so there's a bunch of different tricks that you can do with this deck, but the way that it usually wins is either a 2-card combination with Triskelion and Phyrexian Devourer, which will allow it to get a bunch of counters and then turn into a Triskelion and then deal the damage to your opponent. But it also has the other way of attacking with a creature. Usually it's a Chroma because it has haste, flying, trample, protection from colors. And then it will turn into Phage the Untouchable, which when it deals combat damage to a player, they lose the game. So it revolves around that, and then the supporting cast just has a bunch of different value cards. So Flint, do you want to talk about the next deck available to Robin, which is the Rock?
Sure. Again, a pretty common deck in Premodern and, of course, in older Extended, although it's much better in Premodern. Basically, just a combination of hand disruption, board clearing with Pernicious Deed, lots of different resources, man lands, and some powerful beasts to close out the game. It basically looks to just interact on every level. It's a fun deck to watch, and it's a fun deck to play.
And then the third deck available to Robin is his Zombies list. And this is just an aggressive black tribal deck and has some synergies with Lord of the Undead that can get back zombies from the graveyard, which is particularly good with Gem Palm Polluter because it cycles and then makes a player lose life equal to the number of zombies in play. So it can have a nice little combination setup if the games go long. But other than that, it just has a plan of beating down, and it has some disruption with Duress and some resilience with Rotling Reanimator, and then a little bit of reach with the Gem Palm Polluter and the Shepherd of Rot. So we'll bring up the 3 decks that David Daniel has. Do you want to talk about the Draco Explosion deck, Flint?
Yeah, this is a fun one. I play this in the monthly. It looks to deal some quick damage via a lightning bolt or a Grim Lavamancer, disrupt the opponent's hand with a fast Hypnotic Spectre or a Mesmeric Fiend, and then eventually close out the game by casting Insidious Dreams and getting Draco and Erratic Explosion to then reveal the Draco for 16 damage. It also has Phyrexian Arena, which really helps with the card draw. It's an important card in the match. If you're playing this deck, you basically are looking to run out a turn 1 Phyrexian Arena or a turn 1 Hypnotic Spectre.
the Mana Flare combo. So Flint and I both have some experience with a version similar to this, where you're looking to get a Mana Flare in play and a bunch of basic lands, and then you're able to untap them. With this version, it has Frantic Search and Early Harvest to untap lands, and then once it has a bunch of mana, this one's using Diminishing Returns, which is 2 blue blue and shuffles each player's hand into the deck. You exile the top 10 cards of your library, and then each player draws 7 cards. So that's a good way to refuel your hand. And after it's cast a bunch of spells, it typically will Burning Wish for a Temporal Fissure to bounce all your opponent's permanents, or win with a Karavix Torch for it's a big fireball. And then you want to talk about the Blue-Green Madness opposition deck, Flint?
Yeah, I think you put it quite aptly there. It's a hybrid between a mana deck and an opposition deck. So taking advantage of the graveyard, using Quiet Speculation to get flashback cards, to get some quick squirrels on the board, or a worm or deep analysis. Those various cards. Uses the madness cards of Basking Rootwalla, Arrogant Worm, and Circular Logic. Has some disruption with Cabal Therapy. It's a really creative deck, and it's really fun to watch. He hasn't had a whole lot of success with it yet, but I think there's definitely some room to brew here and tinker, because it can do some powerful things, and it can interact with the opponent.
Okay, let's jump over to our ban screen, where Flint and I are going to make a prediction on if we were in the player's shoes, what would we be banning and why. So if I'm Robin, I'm looking at David's deck. I think the deck that's just the most powerful of his 3 is the Draco Explosion one. I think that's pretty clearly, I think, what he's going to ban. Do you have anything to add or any depth in terms of, do you think differently?
No, I agree. And unfortunately, we haven't seen David play it yet because it is so powerful. So I think we're just going to see the same thing tonight. I think Robin's going to ban it, and it's going to continue to sit on the sidelines.
Yeah. So it's a little bit more interesting from David's perspective of what he is choosing to ban. So if I'm looking at his deck, so if I'm going to make the assumption from David that my Draco Explosion deck is getting banned, I have to think, okay, what decks am I bringing? So if I'm bringing the combo deck, problem is like it doesn't. I think it's a little bit too slow against these decks, or it's a little bit too fragile. The Zombies deck has a quicker clock and disruption. The Rock deck has a good amount of disruption, and the Full English Breakfast both is pretty quick and has disruption. So I don't think I want to be bringing that, and none of the. I don't think any of those decks are. I'm scared to play against any of those 3 decks with the Early Harvest deck, the Mana Flare combo. So I'm thinking I'm going to be bringing the Blue-Green Madness. So I'm kind of like backwards going of if I'm playing Blue-Green Madness opposition, what do I want to play against the most? I think, or what do I want to play against the least? I think maybe it's the Rock, just because it has the Pernicious Deeds, but you could also say Full English Breakfast just because it's quick and powerful. I'm going to say the Rock. I don't know. What do you think, Flint? You're still muted.
I definitely agree. Thanks. I definitely agree with your analysis here, and I do think it's between those two. To be different, I'll say Full English Breakfast.
Sure.
But it's definitely an uphill battle for David here. Kudos to him for his creative brews. But I think this is a tough matchup for him tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think regardless of how he bans or what Robin chooses, I think he's going to be in a tough position. So we'll jump over to the match. We'll let our players know that they can get started. We'll figure out what decks they're playing and then what decks were banned as well. And so Flint had alluded earlier in the chat, we do have a giveaway. Thanks to the Mythic Society, we're going to be giving away a $20 gift certificate to their store. So if you're sticking around, we're going to do it before we start our second match. We're just going to have the users in the chat are going to enter, and we're going to select a winner based on that.
So it looks like Draco and Full English Breakfast were the banned decks, and we see an island here from David, so I'm guessing he is on opposition. But he could be on the Heartbeat Mana Flare deck, but...
Yeah. I mean, that deck has basic islands, so...
see the swamp. So it looks like we're going to see some zombies.
Okay. All right. I'll update these decks descriptions now that we know which ones they're playing.
David still could be on
yes, I guess
Mana Flare, but definitely Dark Ritual, Swamp Dark Ritual, Rottling Reanimator from from Robin. Pretty sure he's on zombies.
Yeah. Okay, that looks like a Merfolk Glitter. So
yeah, so he is on his opposition deck.
Okay, so I'll bring up the Rottling Reanimator because that might not be a card that everyone knows about.
Very cool card. So Cabal Therapy here from Robin. He knows what David's on. What do you think he names here? Does he name Wild Mongrel? Does he name Opposition?
I don't know. I just was smiling because I'm thinking there's been so many times where Robin has led off with a turn one Cabal Therapy on this series where he doesn't even know what deck his opponent's on. I mean, I guess he knows one of the two decks that they're on, but it's just so funny that now he finally actually is casting a blind Cabal Therapy, but still he at least knows the deck. I probably would name. You could make an argument for Arrogant Worm. That might be a card that you're scared about, but probably Opposition is a card you're thinking. I mean, you're certainly not naming. Well, not certainly, but you're probably not naming Wild Mongrel because you led off with a Merfolk Looter.
Right.
But I think Arrogant Worm would be a reasonable card to name, and I think Opposition would probably be the other.
So it looks like a miss. And what's he going to follow it up with here?
Is Robin looking something up, or is he?
He might be.
Oh,
yeah.
Maybe he's looking up Acorn Harvest. That's probably.
I mean, that is one good thing about David's decks is a lot of his cards still have game once they're in the graveyard. A second Dark Ritual.
Okay.
And what is that? A Shepherd?
No, that's a Lord of the Undead.
Lord of the Undead. So 3, putting David down to 17.
Yeah, when you were saying that, that's a good thing about David's cards. I thought you were going to say that people haven't played against them very often, so you might get an advantage that way. But yes, I do agree that some of them do have an advantage for being in the graveyard with flashback or whatnot. So yeah, Lord of the Undead is one of the cards we talk about, and the times we had seen this, the games didn't go very long, or this card wasn't drawn. But if the games go long, this card could really provide some good advantage, even though David is a blue-green deck and isn't really removal based. The combination of having the Gem Palm Polluters, because if David were to get set up and have Opposition and able to tap down a lot of either the lands or the creatures on Robin's side, he might be able to float 2 mana and then cycle a Gem Palm Polluter and then be dealing damage. And he'd all be able to do this like during his upkeep when he'd be getting tapped down and still have a reasonable way to win even through that lock.
Definitely. So he comes in again with the Rottling.
Yep. There could be an Arrogant Worm here. No.
Doesn't look like it. So David's down to 14. So what do we think, chat? Opposition Madness versus Zombies. Who's advantaged here? And we see a follow-up Sarcomancy from Robin.
Mm-hmm.
Nice unglued token there.
Yeah, there's not much of a drawback for this one because you're pretty likely to have a zombie in play.
So got 1 vote for zombies. Andrew's all in for zombies.
So Polluted Delta is going to get an island, and I'm guessing the Merfolk Looter is going to get activated in a turn. I mean, I feel like the biggest thing he could draw is an Arrogant Worm and then play it. Otherwise, I mean, he does have the Acorn Harvest to pitch, but I mean, He just didn't use any of his mana that turn is the only awkward thing. And
So
to me, I don't think he has an Arrogant Worm because I think I would have played it mid combat. Oh, he has a Basking Root Walla. So I'm trying to think. Well, do you think that it means that he has counter magic in his hand? Because would you take
yeah,
the
that's what I'm guessing.
opportunity to trade a Basking Root Walla for? I mean, you're trading it because it would be a 3/3, but I don't
Mhm.
know. I guess it's fine. It's not great. It's not like you're just eating the Rotling Reanimator, but
The problem here though is even if he counters like a key zombie like a Shepherd of Rot, um, Robin still has that Lord of the Undead and can return creatures, so he can grind David out to some extent. And even what's even scarier is he can cycle a Gem Palm, uh, and no, sorry, Early's barking, a Gem Palm, and then get it back with the Lord of the Undead.
yeah.
So we got 2 votes for zombies. Mike says Harris says Robin's ahead, but I think it's pretty even. And Mike Arnold says hello. Hey, Mike. So is he flashing back Cabal Therapy here? Or is he just playing it? Looks like he's just playing one.
Yeah.
If it resolves, does he just name Circular Logic? Or is there something else he cares more about? I mean, opposition certainly, but
Yeah, I mean, I think he would have cast Opposition, so I don't think he has that in his hand. Okay, so it looks like in response to the Cabal Therapy, David activated the Merfolk Looter and then drew and discarded an Arrogant Worm. So he's able to play that. Yeah, I mean, if I'm like really dissecting of like what card I think he had, I mean, you could make the argument just to name Acorn Harvest because it's a card you know about, but I think the card maybe that you're most scared about is Circular Logic that he might have. Um, I don't know.
oh wow, he hit 2 Circular Logics.
Oh, so I think he named Deep Analysis. I think that was a card he had seen earlier,
Yep.
and so at this point, are you flashing it back? I guess you can do it later, right? Oh no, because if you leave up mana or a discard outlet, then you'd be able to cast one of them. And so now
A 3rd Dark Ritual from Robin.
I mean, he'd rather have probably have just had a third land instead of all these rituals at this point. But
Yeah.
so the question is like, how much is Robin able to do now that like just facing down a 4/4? Because there isn't any removal. He could get another Lord of the Undead, but so he's sacrificing.
The Rotlung.
Why would you sacrifice that one?
He doesn't have any other zombie clerics, does he?
Oh. Oh wait.
Or he doesn't have any other clerics, right?
Wait. Why did it go back into his hand? Oh, so he. Oh, did he just attack and then get? I'm confused. It's back in his hand because of the Lord of the Undead. Okay, he's getting a token. So I'm guessing he attacked.
Oh,
it attacked.
He's using the mana from the Dark Ritual, the other 2, to activate Lord of the Undead to bring it back to his hand. So
Yeah.
he did sack it. He puts the zombie token in play.
Did he sack
He
it or
activated
did he?
and tapped. He did sack it.
Yeah,
And then he returned it back to his hand with the Lord of the Undead.
I didn't see the
using
Circular
2 mana.
Logics in the graveyard. Yeah, I was thinking that maybe he just like it was like a semi bluff attack. I mean, I don't know what. Given the lister open, I don't know what he could have, but yeah, I didn't see the Circular Logics get discarded. But yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. So it looks like David's fetching, so he's down to 12.
Yeah. So deep analysis getting flashbacked.
Yep, down to 9.
Do you know what the flavor text of this card is?
I don't.
It's the specimen appears to be broken. Do you know what that's referring to?
Masticore.
Yeah, because that's what the picture is a picture of Masticore,
Yep.
which is a nice little magic joke. And so he took 3 to cast that.
It's a nice magic joke.
Okay, so
Ooh.
yeah, that's gonna be a problem, especially because that so much that David's already taken some damage. The Shepherd of Rot. Let me pull that one up. So yeah,
So,
this is pretty much just a 2-turn clock. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 zombies in play. Oh,
yep.
Robin has paid a life for a Carnophage to stay untapped. Okay, so there's multiple Arrogant Worms. I mean, at this point, like what he really needs is a Wonder. Is to okay, so Arrogant Worm comes in. Didn't look like there were any blocks.
Nope. Robin's at 15.
So, is there a Wonder in the graveyard? I feel like I would block there. I would block with 2 zombies.
Goes to 8. Attacks with taps. You have him on your coast for green. Yeah, to play Wild Mongrel.
Okay.
So Robin goes to 14 to keep Carnophage untapped.
So 1, 2.
So he can Shepherd for 5.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But I mean, he has to live in fear of Wonder, right? Because if, I mean, I guess he can do it end of turn, but, well, let's just say, I mean, if David were to draw Wonder, he's attacking for lethal then, so he just needs Wonder here. How many ways does he have to get it? Is it does he doesn't does he have intuition or no? I don't think he does.
I don't see it.
I think he just has to draw it naturally. Because I think I was talking before that I used to quiet speculation for Wonder, but that is not illegal.
Yeah, because it had the graveyard symbol on it or whatever.
Yeah, the tombstone symbol, but yeah, not a legal play.
You got to keep your eye on this Michael Hoyp, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that would be the card that he wants to draw.
Definitely.
But even if he doesn't, is there a way he can get the life totals low enough that using the Shepherd of Rot would cause a draw? So he drew.
I think he needs a Gem Palm to do it.
Did he discard Acorn Harvest?
He did. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there's a tree. Is that a treetop village too? That's one thing I hadn't noticed before. I don't know if that changes the math. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely attacking for a lot. So he played a land, right? Wouldn't it be better just to be in his hand since he has Wild Mongrel in play?
I think you might want to pump both Root Wallas.
Okay, that's fair. All right, yeah, that makes sense. That's why he did it. So he's potentially representing. So it's 8 from the Arrogant Worms, 11. That's 11 trample, plus 1, 2, 3, 4. So 15. But the Brute Wallas could be plus 4 total. So it's potentially of 19 damage.
They become 3/3s, right?
Yeah. Plus,
they get plus 2, plus 2.
Yeah, I said the sum of them would be 4 more.
Yeah.
So I didn't do all the math, but because the thing is if it's not like a force lethal, then at worst, I guess Robin would have to stay like above 5 for. I'm just thinking if he like at worst if Robin just draws the game, But yeah, I think this might be good enough for David. I don't know exactly what good blocks are, but it's really awkward if you get that Lord of the Undead into combat, because that's going to shrink all the zombies post combat.
Yep. The trample on the worms in the treetop village is so clutch here too.
Yeah, because otherwise, I mean, still it would be kind of tricky even if they didn't from this board position. But I think that the turns before would have been a lot different. I still think that Robin should have taken the opportunity to get rid of a worm, traded like a zombie token for a worm on the turn before when he attacked. But because then I think the blocks would be a little bit different here. Robin doing some finger counting. I think he's trying to go through all the permutations, but I mean, I haven't gone through all of them either. But
I haven't either.
there's definitely a lot of different situations, but nothing is just jumping out in my head of like these are the easy blocks. Because I mean, you at least so he has 5 creatures to block with. So if you wanted to take the least amount of damage, you'd block the root wallas and the mongrels. So that'd be 3 creatures. And then the other 2 creatures would block creatures with trample. So you'd be soaking up 6 damage. So if you wanted to take the minimum amount of damage, the 2 tokens or 2 of the base 2/2s would be blocking the creatures with trample. So you'd be soaking up 6 damage of trample and then blocking the other 3 creatures. So it'd be 11 from the trample minus 6 would be 5. So you'd be taking 5 damage. But then you probably are just like losing your entire board.
Yeah.
So you're not going to win from that position. So that you can't really make that block. But that's, I guess, the least amount of damage that he could take. Because the Merfolk Looter is not attacking, right? That was
correct.
He drew and discarded the Acorn Harvest.
That's correct. Yeah, Robin's in a tough spot.
He's still thinking, right?
Yeah, as far as I know.
Just haven't seen him playing around with cards or moving, trying to visualize blockers for a moment. Okay, here we go.
It's always tougher playing over a webcam because you can't put the blockers in front of the creatures.
I usually just like, if I'm blocking, if it's a complicated block, I mean, I guess it's like I would say I'm blocking this, and I would hope that my opponent would like set aside the creature that's being blocked. It kind of visualize, line them up, but yeah. I mean, most of the time, there's really not that much creature combat, like really involved creature combat, where it's you have to think about like the blocking steps. So this usually doesn't come up that often in Premodern. So
no,
but it is refreshing. I mean, I enjoy it. That's part of Magic that is always good, is the creature combat, because it definitely is like you even see like pretty experienced players that sometimes they make questionable attacks or questionable blocks just because there are certain board positions where it's really hard to do all the permutations in your head, and I think some people give up some opportunities to attack or block in certain situations. Okay.
So it looks like 2 zombies on a village and a root walla, and then a shepherd rot on a root walla, a zombie token on a wild mongrel.
So it's a zombie token on. He's not double blocking any of those, right? That doesn't make sense.
No.
Okay. Didn't he? Okay. All right. So he's not blocking with the Lord. So he's not taking any trample from the treetop village. So it
looks like the worms might be getting through.
Yeah. So he's getting in for 8, is what it looks like. So that would give Robin the opportunity to activate the Shepherd of Rot before any of the zombies die. If he's only taking 8, because he's at 14 right now, because 8 plus 5 is 13. So he'd be at 1. And then he at least has the out of drawing a 1-drop zombie. Oh no, because the Shepherd Rot is dying. He would need the Shepherd Rot in play. And if he had like 2 more 1-drops, then he could draw the game. Because David would go to 3, and then if he played 2 more zombies.
Looks like David's trying to decide to discard a Wild Mongrel, and he's going to discard a Treetop Village.
So that one was blocked by...
I believe the zombie token that's in between the Lord of the Undead and the Shepherd of Rot.
Okay.
Based on their body language.
So this Basking Root Well looked like it was pumped.
Do you think he's got the Gem Palm in his hand?
No.
I mean, he already would have just played it, right? He would have just killed David.
Yeah.
So
he's activating it now when all the zombies are in play. So it's for 5.
Yeah. So David's at 3 and Robin's at 9.
So maybe Robin's just hoping that David flashback. I guess he technically can't even flashback Acorn Harvest because he would have to take a damage, and then he wouldn't be able to pay 3 life.
He can't pump the other Root Wall either now, or he just dies to Lord of the Undead.
Sure. Interesting. I guess I forgot about just attacking with the Lord. But then he has because so if he would have blocked the Shepherd on the Wild Mongrel and then the 2 tokens on the Root Wallas, then he either would have had a token how did that token live?
Oh, because I think it blocked a Root Walla, and David couldn't pump the other one because he dies on the crackback.
Well, the way it looked, he made it look like he blocked the Shepherd of Rot with. Oh no, he made it look like he had the Shepherd of Rot on a Root Walla, so pumping that Root Walla would have had it live. So that went to Robin, right?
To Robin, yeah.
But
all right,
it did look like, I mean, the way that it was blocking, that the Shepherd of Rot was blocking a Root Walla, right?
Yeah, and I think he pumped that one.
Yeah, but then the Shepherd of Rot would die. Oh, I guess, and then the other, but then you could, oh no. Okay, then yeah, the token would live.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of math there. All right, let's talk sideboards.
Yeah, let's jump over to the sideboards. Okay, I have the opposition deck up. Well, so, I mean, if you think of Robin like an aggro deck, you might be really drawn to Moment's Peace, but the problem is he's still able to close out the game with Shepherd of Rot and Jump Home Polluter, so that's a lot less appealing. So let me look up Spreading Algae. I don't remember what this card does.
It's like 1 green, you put it on a swamp. If the swamp taps, then it dies, and then if Spreading Algae is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, you return it to your hand.
So it's only swamp. Okay, only on a swamp. So, yes, so it's green, enchant land. Play this only on a swamp. When enchanted land becomes tapped, destroy that land. And when this is put into a graveyard from play, return it to its owner's hand. So, yep. I mean, I don't know if there's a specific matchup that David was thinking when he put this in a sideboard, but I have to imagine that's coming in. I mean, it's okay. I don't even think it's that great. I mean, it's great in theory on turn 1, but I can see certain games where, like, if Robin just draws like 1 extra land, then it just kind of slows him down, or his land. I don't know. I don't think it'll be that effective, but I could be wrong. And looking at the other cards, I mean, I don't think I'd bring in Coffin Purge. I don't think that's
No, I don't
necessarily
think I
worst.
would.
I would probably. I can't remember the sideboard of Robin, but Roar the Worm actually seems good. Like just having like a
I
6/6 that is bigger than all the other stuff.
I like Roar and I like Moment's Peace.
You like Moments Piece? I don't think I
I
actually like
do.
Moments Piece.
I do just from the stand or the position of David being able to attack and not have to worry about Robin attacking back into him.
Sure. I guess
And I
that's
think
yeah, that's
those cards are
reasonable.
probably the best ones in his sideboard. Um, but what does he take out? You know,
Um,
what's not good?
uh, maybe the Cabal therapies, some number of them. You could. I don't know if like Acorn Harvest feels like it's either too slow or the 3 life is too much. I don't know. Um,
Maybe.
but the Cabal therapies seem like the least effective card. I guess you could take out Mana Leaks or Circular Logic. I don't. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Robin can just empty his hand so quickly too. Um, and you really need a board presence, so flashing it back unless you have the Acorn tokens doesn't seem like good value for David. So I do think that some number of Cabal therapies could come out. Um, and or Acorn Harvest.
Yeah, there definitely is value of having like one of those cards in because you do have the Quiet Speculation. Though I guess if you're
Yeah,
cutting a bunch of those, then maybe you just take the Quiet Speculation out.
maybe you just cut one Acorn Harvest and two Cabal therapies for one Roar and
Sure.
two Moments Peace. You call it good.
Yeah. So, well, are you not bringing the Spreading Algae then?
I don't know. I mean, Robin only really like he needs 3 mana, but he has rituals, so really like his deck needs 2 mana.
Yeah.
Um, he does have the Tombstone stairwells, but I wouldn't be surprised if he brings those out because David can put a fair number of creatures into his own graveyard.
Sure. Especially like with something with Wild Mongrel, that's a risky card. But
Yeah,
so
so
I
maybe
have
that's what I would do.
the zombie deck up. I know. Well, I mean, I definitely bring in Perish.
Yeah,
Um, would you bring in Tormod's Crypt?
I don't know. I was just thinking about that. What are you afraid of? You're afraid of a Roar of the Worm?
Yeah, it just is
Um,
like I don't
it
know.
doesn't feel great.
Doesn't feel great to bring it in.
No.
Yeah, because it's not like threshold matters, so it's kind of like I feel like almost most of the time if there was a Tormod's Crypt in play, I guess it doesn't even I mean it makes quiet speculation a little bit worse, but you still have priority after the quiet speculation resolves that you're able to cast one of the spells with flashback. So if you
Yep.
had 6 mana, you'd be able to cast the worm even through Tormod's Crypt. Even be able to flashback one Cabal Therapy through a Tormod's Crypt or an Acorn Harvest. You would get priority. So like it's not that effective at fighting it. So I'm not too excited about the Tormod's Crypts. So I think I'd take out the Tombstone Stairwells and put in the Parish. I don't know if there's an argument to bring an Engineer Plague. I guess that would. You could hit the Looters. That's not very good. You could hit the Root Wallas. That's not very good.
No, I
And
feel like David's deck is too diversified for Engineered Plague to be too impactful.
you could
And there's
name
not like
you
one
could
key
name
one
Worm.
one.
You could name Worm and then make the worms
You can get
five
all those sweet,
fives and
sweet
three
worms.
threes. Yes, but yeah. So do you think that the cyborging? I guess I am. I'm pretty sold on Moment's Peace now. I guess.
Yeah, I think it could be good.
Okay, it looks like the players are pretty close or ready to start. So let's jump over there. We do have a game win for Robin.
All right, I will text them.
Okay.
All right. Let's see how game 2 goes.
Yeah, I guess we didn't talk about Withered Wretch in general. Someone in Makago brought it up in chat in terms of instead of Crypt, but in using it with Tombstone Stairwell, but also just like you kind of have a natural protection against
That's a
some
really good point.
the flashback cards. So,
Really good point.
all right, Treetop Village is the starting play for David, and then Swamp is tapped, but we don't know for what.
Cabal Therapy. Oh, Ritual and a Duress.
Okay. Okay, so we see forest, island,
We do see a moment's peace.
a wild mongrel, and arrogant worm, and then the two choices he has are circular logic and moment's peace.
What do you take?
I think, I mean, in most spots, I'm probably taking circular logic, but I can see certain hands that I would be taking moment's peace, but I think I'd be taking circular logic like 85% of the time, probably. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's circular logic. If he has a follow-up discard spell, then he might just take the moment's peace. But either way, it's going to be those two cards. Um, Although if he's got a Cabal Therapy, that would be pretty good against the Arrogant Worm. So there's the
Are you
Mongrel.
saying that he's gonna take one of the two legal targets with duress? Is that what you said?
No, as a follow-up,
Oh,
he
okay.
might take. He
Oh,
had a
okay.
Cabal Therapy as a follow-up.
Okay. Oh, it looks like, oh, okay, some video stutter on Robin's side, but
Wastelands, the Treetop Village.
he was able to get a wild mongrel in play, so like the difference of is huge when that card's like the madness decks are so much better when there's a wild mongrel in play. So
Oh
he's
yeah,
attacking for 2. And yeah, if David's able to be the aggressor, then like the Shepherd of Rot is way less good because you're especially that he knows about a moment's peace. It's way harder for him to be activating it, knowing that he's always going to be putting himself closer to dying, and he's never able to just alpha strike through a moment's peace. So I think
right.
this is I guess it's an attack. I mean, I guess I mean, there could be a world where he activated it. I mean, did we get a? Because if you're afraid of like a basking rule or something,
Sure.
no, he just attacked. Okay.
Yeah. So Mongrel's coming back in, and it looks like Robin's going to take it.
He's gonna discard before combat, so he's gonna take 3, and now he's gonna cast an arrogant worm. So this is
He's got the
ideal. So
pressure he needs.
yeah, so even if Robin had a perish,
As a polluter on David.
the wild mongrel has the color change ability that he'd be able to discard a card and keep it in play. So it would just be killing the arrogant worm.
So David's at 17 and Robin's at 14.
Oh, because he paid a life to keep the. Would you be paying a life for Carnophage?
I don't know. I mean, he can't block with his theater. Ooh, here they come again.
Yeah. Yeah, this is looking good for David for sure. Yeah, especially because there's just not that many ways that zombies interact with the creatures. Even post board, there's not that many, and like the difference of like a 4/4 trampler is huge. Like, I think especially because he only has 3 power. Like if he had 2/2/2s, I think you just snap lock off the and trade with the arrogant worm. But here, so I'm guessing that was a pre-combat, so he attacked for 7.
Yep.
Yeah, this is gonna be
And
tough.
Robin goes to 6 for the Carnophage.
A Rotling Reanimator.
Rotlang.
So this might
And
at least.
Shepherd of Rot is a cleric.
Yeah. Would you slow
He's still
roll?
got-
Would you slow roll the wonder
Oh.
right here? Would you just be like, and then discard an attack? I mean, there's still like a backup moments piece. Like if, I mean, not that David's really worried. I guess he's thinking about how could this combat go poorly, but I guess it's a little bit awkward that Rotling Reanimator came down. But even so, like you're trading. What would be the best blocks? I mean,
I mean,
2.
the problem is he can pump and
Yeah.
discard, so
Yeah.
he doesn't. So he looks like he's taking a point and going to 16 to play Cabal Therapy.
Okay. What card would you name?
Maybe another Gem Palm or Lord of the Undead?
I mean, it's probably not Perish, right? Because you think he would have cast that.
You'd think so, yeah.
Oh, oh, he's revealing. I thought he was discarding those. Or so the cards in his hand are Tombstone Stairwell and Withered Wretch.
Yep.
All right, I'll bring up Tombstone Stairwell because that's certainly a card I wouldn't expect many people to know.
I think David might be looking it up.
All right, so it has the lovely card type of World Enchantment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's 2 black black, enchant world. It has cumulative upkeep of 1 and a black. And it's during each upkeep, each player puts a 2/2 zombie token into play with haste. For each creature in the graveyard, they have in the graveyard. So it's
And at the end of turn, you have to bury all your zombie tokens.
if when this dies.
So he is bringing the team in.
I mean, I think I'd block, yeah, those 2 on the 4/4. And that one probably on the Rootwalla, make him use his mana. You're going to get a 2/2 out of it anyways. Would you do anything differently? I guess you could make the argument of double blocking the... No, I don't think you would want to double block the Mongrel because he could just discard 3 cards.
I think you've got to stop that worm.
So is he taking just 2, we think? I guess we'll see how the creatures die. But yeah, so the worm traded, he took 2, and he should get 2 zombie tokens.
Yep.
So
Rowling is so good.
yeah, but I mean, I still feel like David's winning, so...
Sure.
And in general, do you think that David's deck is better, like, playing off the top than Robin's? I mean, I guess the only, like, one really good card for Robin to draw is... Lore of the Undead is really good at grinding, but David has in terms like Merfolk Looter is a good card to draw in the long term. I mean, Opposition's pretty good, but like even like Acorn Harvest, things that like give you value, I don't know, or like Careful Study digs you deeper. It just seems like there's a lot more live draws. I guess maybe just adding more creatures to the board is okay from the spot, but just with Robin being so low, it's kind of awkward because you just might not have that much time.
Right.
So how many creatures are in both the graveyards? So a Robin has
2, 3, 4. 4 in Robin's and 1 in David's.
1 right now. I mean, he's got 3 cards in hand, right?
Yep, he sure does.
And with a Wild Mongrel in play, like I don't know what the, like if all those cards were creatures, or if, yeah. Okay, so it's a Shepherd Rot and a Withered Wretch.
Oh man, Withered Wretch. And we know he has the Tombstone Stairwell as his other card.
Yeah. But from the spot, I mean, like, he's going to lose at least a creature. He's going to lose 2 creatures. Well, I guess he doesn't necessarily have... He's not obliged to block with the basking Rootwalla, but he is obliged to block the Wild Mongrel if it comes in.
Sure.
And there is a Cabal Therapy, and so I would not expect that Tombstone Stairwell. If David considers it too good, then he can always trade in a creature to flashback the Cabal Therapy, especially because he's not going to get the opportunity to do it later if Robin has excess mana.
Yeah, Starwell with Wretch is so good. Totally missed that.
Okay, so
Yeah,
Merfolk.
he recognizes how devastating that would be.
Yeah, but from the spot for like having a Merfolk looter in play is really nice because it's just if they're playing off the top and David's basically drawing 2 cards a turn, he has his good cards are if he drew Wonder, if he drew
Oh wow, what a
Favor.
top deck.
Okay, so that was the best thing. Yeah, they could draw.
Yeah, that's incredible. So now the pressure's coming back the other way, and he has the. Does he have a Shepherd of Rot? He does, right? Looks like he's thinking about attacking with it.
Well, I mean, he's not activating it anytime soon, so might as well.
You can always get it back, right?
Sure, but I mean, like, if he just used it right now, he'd die. So, so he's not willing to give up a Withered Wretch for 2 cards out of David's hand. So I'd probably block the Shepherd of Rot and discard a card. I guess it depends on what the cards are in my hand. I might discard 2 and take out a token, but so he's
Yeah,
discarding
he's
an
going to discard
opposition.
opposition.
Okay. I guess that is a reason to leave um, creatures back. Because if, let's say, he attacked with 3 creatures or 4 creatures, and David just took it and then drew a land, he could tap the play opposition, use the Merfolk Looter, tap the Lord of the Undead, and he should have enough cards to discard with Wild Mongol. So that could have been a way that David could have won. He still might have another opposition in his hand though. But he also doesn't have 2 blue mana right now. He just has 3 lands and only one of them produces blue. So he took 6 damage.
Yeah, he's a 10.
Okay. Okay, so he's activating the Merfolk Looter. So it's kind of an interesting spot because it's like if you draw something you want to play on your turn, you want to use it now. But if you feel like you will need to block with it, then you might want to wait.
Discards Mana Leak.
Yeah, the Lord of the Undead was
Yeah,
very,
that was
very,
real nice.
very timely.
So do you attack here if you're David?
I mean, probably not. Given the way that he like had to use the Merfolk Looter first, I think it's kind of showing that his hand is weak.
So Robin's going to town on David's graveyard, exiles Rootwalla. I assume the Arrogant Worm will be next. Taking a minute to look up something.
What are you naming here?
Oh man.
Okay, I guess
Yeah,
he
I
knew
guess
about
the
the Moment's
Moment's
Peace.
Peace.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say I was gonna say he probably has an opposition in his hand, given the like how quickly he discarded the first one.
The other one. Yeah.
But yeah, the Withered Wretch is gonna be able to activate the Moment's Peace. But if he does it now, he can just use it. I mean, I think I'd be using Moment's Peace right now. Yep.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to get the opportunity to do it again.
Nope.
But yeah, I mean, okay. So he drew an island, so he's able to play opposition. So he's tapping down the Withered Wretch and then attacking with the Wild Mongol. Oh, he's 1 card short though.
Mm-hmm. I think you wait,
I think you do.
right?
Because you can tap 2 creatures
And then
and then
you could tap
play
2 more.
play a Merfolk Looter. Also, he gets a free activation. He might just draw a Basking. Oh, I guess he won't because he's gonna tap it instead of using its ability.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that all right. So I think this opposition might be good enough. But it's
If Robin
definitely
draws a creature, I mean, if you're Robin, do you just put a creature on top of your graveyard, or excuse me, on top of your library and draw it?
his choices are. Oh, there's still a Cabal Therapy in the graveyard for Robin, so he could get rid of that Merfolk Looter. I think he will want to do that.
Yeah. Looks like he's gonna get back a Gem Palm.
Oh, that makes sense. Sarcomancy. So 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5. He's gonna cycle that. Yeah. So I mean,
So David's gonna go to 5 life.
yeah, he's gonna have this ability to do this. Oh, he doesn't have 2. Oh, on upkeep he can wait. Did he just have enough to attack?
Because David can only tap down 2
2.
creatures, so he was still gonna come in for lethal, given the Lord of the Undead.
Okay.
Yep. So that's game. All right, let's have him unmute.
Okay.
I only brought in 2 Perish. I don't know if Crypt was going to be worth it. I know it's good with my Tombstones, but I have Wretches and stuff, so.
Can you guys hear us?
I guess they might want us to unmute.
David, can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, I can hear you now. Sorry, I just unmuted you guys.
Yep.
Oh,
You
I
No worries.
you guys are live on the stream, so if you want to talk about your sideboard decisions or anything about the
It's
game.
unmuted. And
Yeah, no, I was
it's
just
unmuted.
I had those 2 oppositions like the whole game. I just
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was.
or
I
like any more pressure. Like if those oppositions were anything else that I could just kill him with.
Yeah,
that
or
would-
if you hit a land.
Yeah.
No, I got lucky that one. I kept a pretty shaky hand, and I just ripped decently. You know?
Yeah, that Lord was like
Yeah, very.
Lord
That was ridiculous. That was so good.
The Tombstone was in such a good position that like forcing you to sack a creature just to get rid of it. Like I felt like it. I knew you had to get rid of it, but I felt worth it to just pack the board. So it's basically a 3-for-1 because I get to play 2 creatures. You get to kill one of your own.
Yeah, so I didn't want to tell you this before, but the spreading algae is because of opposition. I can spend 1 green and just repeatedly stone rain your lands.
Okay, that makes sense.
Wait, how does that work?
So when this goes to the graveyard from play, it goes back to my hand. So
Yeah.
And it's whenever a land becomes tapped, and I can tap them with opposition. So I put it on tap your land, destroy it, get it back, and I just destroy all your swamps.
Yeah, I did not think of
Well,
that
that's,
interaction.
That's pretty annoying. Well, I'm pretty
Nice.
pretty glad that didn't happen.
Yeah, that's why they're in there. It's not no black.
Yeah. So we
Really
were
works.
actually, but it only works on swamps, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I mentioned the card in between matches. I go, what is this card? And I look up spreading algae, and I'm like, why did I pick zombies? And so I kept my hand because it had a wasteland which felt really good, and then it had 3 swamps, and I was like, whatever, like he can't get rid of all my lands.
Sure.
I was like tilted by finding out what spreading algae did, and I kept a pretty mediocre hand, I feel like, but sometimes you get there.
Super unlucky. I don't know. Maybe it's a bit more pressure or just the
Yeah.
4.
They were very tight games. Both game 1 and 2 were super tight.
The game 1 was really interesting. Like I don't know if there was a spot where you could have attacked differently, but the way the game ended, it seemed like it's possible that if you left some amount of creatures back, that maybe the game would have been different. But I guess he still had the active Shepherd of Rot. So yeah, it was definitely really hard.
I needed to pressure him into using
he definitely
not
did the pressure me.
Shepherd, but also I got super greedy and I tap my looter before combat. So I was like, oh, if I just draw one,
Draw Wonder, yeah, that's what we were
Yeah.
talking about.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if that were in play, then you'd be able to block the Lord of the Undead.
Wonder is like the best card in this matchup for him because it's like an auto win because there's gonna be board stalls and he's gonna have bigger dudes usually, but I'm gonna have more. But that he just punches so hard.
You win most of the board stalls because of Shepherd and Gem
Yeah,
Pump looter.
Shepherd and Jump, that's the entire plan. Shepherd and Jump Palm, and then if I need to take trades, I'm gonna lose more guys than you when I play a Tombstone. Like that's the plan basically.
The problem was, game 1, I should have left the Merfolk looter alone and not try to draw the Wonder, because I could have casted Acorn Harvest and lived.
Sure. Yeah, that's another way to do it too.
Like if he doesn't get to activate the Shepherd.
I don't think there's any way you don't attack with everything because you needed to try to put me on a lower life total than yours, so I could just activate on top activates. So
he might be able to attack with all the tramplers. If he's attacking for like 11 trample, then your blocks are pretty tricky.
That might be that could have been a good point. Yeah.
And then he just has the mana to, instead of using the pump the root well, as he is able to cast Acorn Harvest.
So I was at 14, he was at 9, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So I could still trade Carnophage with Treetop, double block a Argent Worm with 2/3/3 zombies, and take 4 down to 10.
And then it's a draw at worst?
Then it's a draw at worst. Yeah.
Oh, no, because he loses 2 zombies.
Yeah, you don't have enough zombies to...
Well, I activate before.
Yeah, and then you untap, and you don't have 5 zombies
and
in play.
I have 1, 2, 3 zombies in play.
You could activate the Lord to draw 1.
Yeah, and I had enough mana to activate the Lord, so I could have brought Carnophage back. So I could have played Carnophage, and I would have 4 zombies. So it would have been 5 + 4. So that would have been 9.
Yeah, I still would have attacked with it. Like, there's no way I don't attack with the root while I was there.
No, I don't think so either.
But...
Well, they were really fun games to watch, and there were a lot of decisions, and it'd be interesting to go back and watch them and see what some of those might have been.
I will admit real quick what I admitted to David, because I should shame myself publicly for this. I spent the 5 minutes trying to figure out the blocks there, and then after blocks are made, he pumps one of his root wallas, tapping 2 lands. And I quickly Google Basking Root Wall, and I'm like, oh, it costs 2 to activate, not 3. So I spent an entire time planning for him only being able to activate one of them.
You're probably just thinking about the regular Root Walla. That one I think costs 3.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it ended up not mattering anyway, thankfully.
But cool.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the games, guys. Congrats, Robin. Better luck next week, David. And we'll say goodbye for now, and we'll get the next 2 players in here after a short intermission.
All right, thank you.
Easy. Yeah, GG's.
Okay, I'm going to bring up the schedule. So we're going to take a quick intermission as we get our other players set up. But our second match is between Jared and Ron, and they are both our leaders right now. They're both 2-0 and 1. And so one of them is going to remain undefeated and be in first place. So don't go anywhere. Also, when we come back, we're going to be doing the raffle for the $20 gift certificate for the Mythic Society. So after we come back from our intermission, we'll be doing that for all the people in chat. Okay, everyone, we are back from our break, and here we have up the first deck available to Jared, which is the Angry Ghoul deck. So there are two people in this series that have an Angry Ghoul version. Jared has one, and then Michael Arnold has another. The differences between this list and what Michael has Shallow Grave, where Jared has Exhume. So the difference is because Michael has Shallow Grave, he does not have any Cabal Therapy, while Jared has one. And it allows Michael to go off at an instant speed at sometimes, or at least activate a Hermit Druid at instant speed, but it doesn't allow him to have access to Cabal Therapy. And then, other than that, I think the lists are pretty similar. Do you remember any big differences, Flint?
That's the predominant one. I think there may be a difference in terms of I think the number of duresses.
Okay.
I think Jared's running 2 and Mike Arnold's running 4.
Okay.
Um,
But yeah, other than that, it's pretty minor, I think. So.
and then Mike Arnold has 4 Limb Duel's Vault, and Jared has 2.
Okay. So the second deck available to Jared is Red Green Goblins. So do you want to say any words about this one, Flint?
Sure. So standard goblins list, very aggressive, but also can go wide. It's Early's favorite. And he's got access to green mana, so he can use cards like Color of the Claw, Naturalize. I'm going to mute myself. I'll let you take
Okay.
over for a second.
So yeah, the Goblins deck is a tribal aggressive deck, and then it has built-in card advantages with Ringleader and Matron, and then the sideboard is just it has access to green cards. The forest is in the sideboard because there aren't any green cards in the main, and that's just to deal with problematic enchantments and also give you access to Color the Claw. The last deck available to Jared is the Esper Stifle Knot, so blue, white, and black. And that gives the black is for the hand disruption in terms of duress. Also has a couple of Mesmeric Fiend in the sideboard, and then the white is for a disruption element in terms of Meddling Mage. You can preemptively name a card that might remove a Dreadnought, but then also has the Enlightened Tutor, which gets the Dreadnoughts, but then also has a Seal Cleansing or some of the sideboard cards that I can get. And then other than that, it's the pretty typical Stifle Knot package with the Stifles and the Vision Charms. And this deck is just consistently looking to put a 12/12 into play as quick as it can and have a little bit of disruption. And other than that, that's how it's looking to win. The next set of decks will look for Ron. So he has Landstill available to him. This is just a classic blue-white control deck. It has Standstill and then a bunch of land. So it's happy if your opponent's not playing into Standstill because it's able to develop its mana. It's able to attack with Mishra's Factory. It's able to cycle Decree of Justice and then win that way. So if a Standstill's in play, it doesn't need to cast another spell. It still can win that way. So it's often right just to break it as soon as possible. And other than that, there's just counterspells removal and card draw. Flint, do you want to talk about the Reanimator deck that Ron has available to him?
Sure. So as we mentioned before, the Reanimator deck is pretty standard, looking to put cards into the graveyard as fast as possible with cards like Putrid Imp and Careful Study, even Cabal Therapy on yourself. But Ron's running an interesting package of creatures, given that he has Worldly Tutor as well. So he's choosing from a wider variety than I think we've seen in some of the Reanimator decks from the Premodern monthlies, at least over the last year. And then, of course, he's got some standard disruption in the sideboard, the Oath of Druids package to fight against Graveyard Hate, and then Phyrexian Negator to speed up the clock against control decks.
Okay. The last deck available to Ron is a fan favorite of everybody. It's the Stasis deck. And so it's a heavy permission-based...
Boo!
Heavy permission-based mono blue control list. And what it's looking to do is lock the opponent out of the game with Stasis, and then it has the way to get around that is it can return islands with Gush or Thwart or Daze, but then it also has Forsaken City, which can untap by removing a card. And then it eventually looks to win the game by just Black Vice, and then having it deal damage because your opponent's not casting any spells because their mana's not untapping, and it's gonna deal damage that way. So it's kind of a cool deck in the sense that how the pieces work. It's because you attack from a very different angle, but people don't like it when you can't cast spells, I guess. So not everyone's favorite. So I had mentioned talking about the giveaway for the Mythic Society. So
Yes.
anyone who is interested in entering in the raffle, I need you to type in Mythic, MYTHIC, in chat. So if you type that in, then you're going to be entered into the raffle. Flint and I are going to do our deck banning discussion, and then after that, we will roll to see who is the lucky winner of the $20 gift certificate to the Mythic Society. So all you need to do is just type in Mythic, as a few of you already have in the chat, and you'll be entered in. So let's jump over to the ban screen. And we are looking at... Okay, so if you're Jared, what do you want to ban from Ron?
Stasis.
Stasis? Is that...
Stasis.
You think it's better than against the other versions, or...
I just hate the deck. No, I mean, Stasis has counter game against fast strategies, like Reanimator, and it's got some pretty heavy counter game against Landstill as well. And so I think, it could be problematic for, or I think that it's more problematic, than the other strategies. So he can counter Jared's dreadnoughts. He can interact even through discard, I think, with multiple counters. It could slow down. I don't know. Does it have game against goblins? Does Stasis have game against goblins? Maybe not.
I think that's the worst matchup. I think, I don't think Stasis wants to play against goblins. But I think
it's got game against Angry Hermit.
Yep, because it has counter spells and main deck Chain of Vapor to interact with after he commits. So I think you'd be happy against playing against either the other two decks with Stasis, but I don't think you'd want to play against goblins.
I think I would just ban it out of principle then.
Okay.
What do you think?
So the thing is that I feel like the overlap between Stasis and Landstill is pretty big. Like, they're kind of similar decks in a sense that like what they're trying to do, and like how it interacts with Jared's decks too. Like, if you talk about the Angry Hermit and the Stifle Knot deck, they're very all in on one creature, and they have a little bit of disruption, but they're looking to commit a lot of their game plan to it. So you have the blue-white deck, which has some counter spells, but then also Swords to Plowshares, and the Stasis deck, which has counter spells and also Chain of Vapor, which is good against the Angry Hermit or the Stifle Knot. So it's, I mean, I can see a world where maybe you're just banning Reanimator because it's like different, and then maybe you're saying I'm going to try and play goblins. But if that deck gets banned, then I don't know exactly what your plan is. So I can see a world where Jared's thinking I'm going to ban Reanimator because the way that the other two decks play out are pretty similar. I'm going to say Reanimator, sure. But I
think that's fair, but out of principle, I got to go with Stasis.
All right. So if you're Ron, what deck are you banning? I mean, you can almost like go for the same thing and saying like, well, he can't ban both my Landstill and my Stasis deck, and I just don't really want to play against goblins with the Stasis. So if he banned Landstill and I ban goblins, then I'm happy to play Stasis against the other two decks. So I don't know. It would be an interesting, because it's like, I don't think those are the most powerful decks in there, but I think it'd be the way that like the decks interact that I think Ron would be favored if he banned goblins. And so I don't know. I might ban goblins and Reanimator. I don't know. I'm going out there on a limb, but we'll see how it goes.
Fair enough.
Did you want to make a prediction, or?
I think I would ban goblins.
Okay.
I do. It's just so fast, and it can grind against Landstill and potentially go under Stasis, that I think it's probably the one that he's most afraid of.
Okay. All right. So I have seen that some of the people have entered in Mythic in the chat, so I just want to give one last opportunity for anyone who wants to be entered in the raffle to type in Mythic. So I am going to. We'll go over to the match, and we'll get them started. And I will be rolling the raffle soon. Oh, I gotta get life totals reset. But you can
You
let
want me
them
to let them know that they can go and
Yep.
start?
Yep. Go ahead. Let them know. Okay, so hopefully this works. I am going to roll. No eligible users. What? Maybe I'm not having this right. All right, I might have to do this manually because my thing is not working. So, Flint, you want to do some commentary on the game?
Yes. So it looks like we see a fetch from Jared and a portent. So it looks like he's on Stifle Knot.
Okay. So update Jared with his deck. He's playing Asper's Stifle Knot.
Looks like he chose to portent himself and not Ron in a very, very awkward online interaction.
Yes, that is definitely has come up one time with me before where my opponent portent me, but yeah, it's definitely a card where it works a little bit better in paper than it does over a webcam. I'll bring that one up.
Let me look at the banned lists here too real quick.
Okay. So we do see an island out of Ron, but that is not necessarily showing
So
what
it
he's
looks like
playing. Okay.
Hermit and Landstill
Okay.
were banned.
So then he's playing Stasis.
Ah, yes. There's the Forsaken City.
Is it wrong for me to cheer for Stasis?
No.
I really like Stasis actually. I think it's cool how the deck works, and I think it's actually really good.
All right. It's a very good deck. So we see a peak. What are we looking at here? Impulse, impulse. Is that a thwart? A thwart, an arcane denial, and a gush?
It's very hard to tell. I'm not sure about the first or second thwart. I think it might be a Chain of Vapor. The second thwart might be a Chain of Vapor.
I think you might be right.
But okay.
All right, so there it is. Dreadnought.
Is it a Chain of Vapor though? Because it's like, is he just? I guess it's a little awkward for Ron's perspective if he has like a counter spell. Because here, during the upkeep, then you could, if it is a Chain of Vapor, then that would have been an opportunity to. Okay, I don't think it's a Chain of Vapor then.
Yeah, so Ron takes it, goes to 8. And there's a bit of a glare there. I can't see what the other card he drew was. We got some Stasis fans in the chat.
So I think he's just looking for Chain of Vapor then.
Or Stasis.
Yes, Stasis.
Although Daze could be pretty brutal.
Yeah, I think you're exiling a card. Oh, is that Ensnare? Is that what that one was?
It could be.
Was that in his main deck?
I think he runs 1 in the main deck. Only double check. Yeah, he runs 1 in the main deck.
I think that might be the card.
So he does hit the Chain of Vapor. He does bounce the Dreadnought.
Okay. That definitely
And then Jared just passes.
gives him a second lease on life because now he has a lot more time to get set up. Because even if Jared does have the combination of the the Dreadnought and another Vision Charm or Stifle, Ron might have the permission to interact with it because there are a lot of counter spells in his deck. So Impulse gets dazed.
Yeah, Ron needs land very badly. Blue Wizard needs land badly. Exiles a card. Where are all the zombies and root wallas and wild mongrels?
I don't know.
Go here.
They need a break. Yeah, I'm typing in all the users that entered into the raffle manually because.
All right. Well, you're not missing much,
So,
which is about what I expected with Stasis.
So you can take the reins while I get this.
All right. So we got a Lotus Petal from Jared. It's getting exciting. And a Meddling Mage. We'll see if we get a counter out of Ron's hand here. He's got plenty of cards face down. Looks like we do. Looks like an Arcane Denial. Yep. Jared draws his 2. Ron draws his 2. Thanks, Robin. All right. And a Stasis from Ron. Jared takes a point, goes down to 18.
Okay.
To fetch.
All right, I have my thing situated. I'll do it once this game is over, then I'll call out the winner.
Cool. That's exciting. Stick around, everybody.
I guess I'll give other people opportunities to enter. So if you haven't entered already, you can type Mythic in the chat to win a chance to win a $20 gift certificate to the Mythic Society. But I'll call it after the end of this game. Okay. So Stasis is in play. Let me bring up the namesake card. So does Jared have, how many ways does Jared have to interact with a resolve stasis?
Hey, Ryan. Welcome. Good question. Let's take a look at his deck list here.
He has a Seal of Cleansing, I believe.
Yeah, he's got 1 Seal of Cleansing, and that is it. He does have 4 Enlightened Tutors.
He just discarded 1, though. I mean, like it's a little bit awkward, like against a deck with a bunch of permission to try and Enlighten Tutor, spend your turn drawing a card, and then like trying to force that.
Yeah. So there's the Vice.
Everyone's favorite card because it puts everyone out of their misery when they're playing against the Stasis deck.
Yes. Always nice to see it come down. Jerry goes to 17.
Okay.
We got another Mythic in chat there. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I got that one. So
excellent. So Jared down to 14. I've been informed by chat that I am supposed to point out how horrible Ron's islands are.
You don't like the Urza's ones? I like that Urza's.
Ryan does not. I think Ryan prefers Portal 3K.
I mean,
based on what I've seen. I actually don't like the Urza's ones very much. I think they're pretty alike, and it's got those hard edges that I know you like in art,
Yeah.
but I don't. So I don't like the Tempest lands, and I don't like the Urza's Saga lands, with the exception of one of the forests and a couple of the plains.
Hmm.
I don't really like them.
Jared's opted for the invasion ones. I really like that invasion land a lot too. The invasion island.
Yeah, that's a good one. Meddling Mage looks like another Arcane Denial.
What are you naming with that meddling mage? If it resolved, but
Oh God, that's a really good question.
is it like some kind of counter spell? Is it
Some
chain?
counter spell,
Could be chain of vapor.
some kind of counter spell just to try to resolve a seal. Elendril, Mike, I agree. The Lightning Bolt Urza's Island is the best of among the Urza Saga islands. But I still think that the Urza's islands are subpar. I'm not going to fight anyone over it though. Just know that you're wrong. So Mike Arnold points, good point. So when I put together Ron's list, I chose Snow Covered Island as the island for that deck. Or maybe no, maybe it wasn't Snow Covered Island. It was just one of the Ice Age islands that is covered with snow. Is what I decided to go with. I thought that was very on flavor. So we see a gush here from Ron. Jared's down to 13.
Yeah, Gush is an awesome card in this deck.
It's so good.
Because once you're set up, like
so
you have your lands tapped, they're not untapping under stasis, just drawing 2 more cards. You for sure get 2 more islands back in your hand. You can either use those to pitch to a Forsaken City to untap, or just replay those islands to pay for stasis. It just gives you a lot of time.
As much as I talk trash about stasis, it is a deck that attacks the game from a really cool angle.
Yeah.
You know, it's a card that I saw back in old standard, and one of my friends played it, and it was a hard deck to play against. We were always afraid of it, but it's nice to see it in pre-modern. It's very nostalgic, and also it's a cool way to attack the opponent's strategy.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really not fun to play against. Yeah, I agree, Robin. Gush is just so good. It's so cool. One of the things about pre-modern is you can play all these cards that are just ridiculously broken in other formats, but are much less so in pre-modern, I would argue. Jared's down to 9.
Yeah, so he doesn't have too much more time. Though there aren't that many. That's 3 Forsaken Cities in play? There's not a lot of islands in play, so I guess that also could be an issue. So Jared has assembled the combination of Phyrexian Dreadnought and Stifle, but Ron might have something to say about that.
He might.
That one looks
Is
like
it a foil?
I cannot probably.
Yeah, it's foil.
Yeah, that card's really powerful in this deck too.
Oh yeah. After you gush, I mean,
Yeah.
or thwart. It's just this energy is so good. Like Forsaken City was just made for stasis. It's a really well-oiled machine in terms of all the card synergy.
So Jared goes down to 6. So unless he's playing a bunch of spells, he's on a 2-turn clock. But it looks like he just passed. Ron
3.
played an island and just passed.
I think Jared's probably gonna skip him up here.
Yeah. See, this is not bad magic. This is.
If you're Ron,
I mean,
it's great magic if you're Ron.
I don't know. It's not that painful. Is all I'm saying. Is like people just associate stasis that the games are going to take like 800 turns and they're going to be forever. And it's like, yeah, you get locked down, but you die pretty quick. I feel like playing against Pink Prison is like way worse, or even, you might even argue like Blue White Landstill is worse because it's just like the procedure of everything just takes way longer. All right, I have. Let me do my random.
So,
random.org.
when Mike was playing against Reanimator, he foils Ron's first turn Acroma and then wastes his 1 land. That's just mean. That's just mean. All right. Are you doing the drawing? Sorry.
Yes. All right. The winner is. Let me.
Or Jared's. Yep. Thanks, Mike.
The winner is. Let me just make sure I have the name right. I'm going back to where they is. Arcade's the strategist. So congratulations to you. What I need to do is I need you to, if you could whisper an email via Twitch to me, then I can get you in contact with the Mythic Society. Arcade the strategist.
Arcades. Like Arcades Sabbath, the Elder Dragon.
Okay. I didn't even realize that was a... It's not my favorite Elder Dragon, so I guess...
No love for Arcades.
Is that... Right. Which color is that? Is
it... everybody knows it's red, green, and blue. And black. Red, green, and blue. That's my guess. Or maybe it's red, green, and white. I don't remember.
Well, if it's one of the original ones, they're not... It wouldn't be red, green, blue, because that's a wedge. Chromium is... Okay, Chromium
is Esper.
Yeah, and Grixis is Nicol. It's blue, green, white. Okay, I was to say it definitely seemed like a blue. I think if it seemed like a blue one. All right, all right. Sorry for getting sidetracked. Let me pull up the deck list and see if sideboarding can change anything. So the Stasis sideboard. Do you think he brings in Stifle?
We know who Arcades is. I don't know if we should out him, but we know who that is. Sorry.
Do you think he brings in some Stifle? He might want to help out Jared.
Yeah, he might. Like,
casting a Dreadnought. But other than that, not other than that, I don't think he wants to bring in anything.
No, I don't think he does. He's pretty well set. Let's see. Totem Chill, Hydroblast. Yeah, he's good.
All right. So from Jared's perspective, you can make an argument for Mesmeric Fiend. You could make an argument for Mother of Ruins that you just leave it in play so it can't get the Stifle Knot can't get Chain of Vapored. I don't know if that's good, but it's something that you could argue. Samurai Fun, thank you for the follow. Are there any really bad cards? Not particularly.
Thanks, Samurai Fun. I think Mesmeric Fiend is good. Still oh no, that's removal.
There's a Disenchant. You bring in a Disenchant.
Okay. Yeah, Disenchant, Mesmeric Fiend. That might be it. Do you bring in the Mother Runes to protect your Dreadnought? I mean, it's only Chain of Vapor, and Ron mostly interacts via counterspell, so probably not, right?
Well, I mean, I don't know if your game plan is to try and get an early Dreadnought and fight the counter, because you also have counterspells. So I don't know if you're trying to daze a counterspell or Mana Leak or counterspell, or I don't know. Actually, is there not a counterspell isn't actually in this list? I don't know.
So what comes out? Let's start there. So you take out the Winter Orb, right? Maybe?
Yeah.
You take out the Winter Orb, maybe the Portent?
Yeah. I mean, the other card is I don't know if you take out one of the Stifle Vision Charms.
Yeah. I mean, I might take out a Stifle before a Vision Charm, because you could always Vision Charm in response to a Chain of Vapor.
Yeah, and Stifle doesn't... does Stifle do anything? You could
stifle a Forsaken City.
I was going to say a Black Wise trigger, but neither of those. All right,
I guess you could.
I'll just jump over to the match. You can let them know they can go.
All right. Sounds good.
Let's reset the life totals.
Looks like they're ready to go. All right, here we go. Game 2.
So, I mean, part of me, in terms of commentating, it's hard to cheer just for the Stifle Knot deck, just because it's because the game just might go turn 1, Stifle Knot, attack 2 times, and then the game's done. It's I mean, I guess I guess that could happen. Then we could go to game 3, but it's kind of like the games that Ron wins are probably going to be more interesting, right? I guess if the game goes long and then Jared then wins, then that might be really interesting. But it's not very exciting if you just go turn 1, make it 12-12, and then attack with it twice.
And it could also, as chat so keenly states, we could also go do nothing for 15 minutes, and you and I can talk about homelands.
I don't know. Do you think I'd be able to talk about something for 15 minutes? I don't know.
So Mike is a little verbose at times.
Yeah.
I think we'd manage.
Yeah, I think it would go okay.
So it looks like Jared's taking a mulligan. Deciding whether to keep.
Is there a magic card called verbose? Or is that a
verbosity would be
verbosity?
the noun.
Yeah.
I believe.
Oh, Curse of Verbosity. That's a new card.
Ooh, spooky.
I could just be like Loose Lips. That's an unglued card.
Another mulligan from Jared. Ron is grinning ear to ear.
So
I would imagine.
I know you have like a unhinged cube or uncube with all 3 of them together, but my experience mostly with unhinged is I think I've played with unhinged twice. One was we did a sealed event like at a local hobby town, and it was
Nice.
it was just 6 packs of unhinged, and you played a sealed, and like my deck was just this blue green like beat down with carnivorous death parrot, so save a kill spell to deal with this guy.
Yep.
And then like a bunch of like pump spells. It was just like +3/+3s, and then I had a bunch of creatures, and then I had tainted monkey.
Looks like the players are off.
So I just always named because I think like I did the math, and of course I did the math for unhinged cards. So like you were like 60 for like almost all the cards had the in it, and so it's like
Nice.
So it's like it would just make them lose 3 life. So I splashed for this card. I think I won that tournament actually. So
There it is.
They're the
Very
best.
nice.
And then the other times we did 4-man drafts with my friend with unhinged. The problem is like it has the gotcha mechanic.
Yes, that's the gotcha mechanic is rough. So really quick here, meddling mage from Jared.
So,
What do you name here? Well, there's a
probably
days.
You might name Chain of Vapor because like once that's if it resolves, then it's in play forever, right? There's no way it's coming out. So the quick thing about gotcha, so like even just with my group of 4 friends, like we were pretty like quote unquote serious, so we just didn't speak at all. So it's like you're supposed to have a bunch of fun when you're playing this. All right, back to the game. So Jared goes for a dreadnought and then has a stifle, and then
we see a foil from Ron discarding an impulse on an island.
so why is the
Jared's
days in
at
the
18.
graveyard? What was days?
He dazed the meddling mage.
The meddling mage. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So.
Yeah, the gotcha mechanic can be rough if nobody talks for sure.
Yeah, so you kind of have to just agree to have a good time and not be full tryhard mode.
Whenever I go home and I bring my cube, everybody brings like a 6-pack of beer, and we draft and we do a big group game.
Yeah.
And we play in one big group.
I was like 17, so that wasn't an option when we did.
But you're from Wisconsin. That's
Actually,
not going to stop you.
Actually, I'm trying to think. I was probably younger than that. When this game
perhaps
when it came out.
So we see another meddling mage and an arcane denial here from Ron.
All right.
So all the counter spells.
I mean, there are a lot of them in the deck.
There definitely are. End of turn Enlightened Tutor.
Yeah,
Jared going to 16.
Even if Ron has a counterspell, like that's one of the cards that's like, all right, you can spend your turn getting that. He's gonna get a dreadnought.
Yep. Yeah, my favorite unglued, unhinged, on whatever set card of all time is Cheaty Face.
Oh, that one is.
He is so fun to play with.
So I don't know if it was you were talking about, but like had a modified rule that you could always try again.
Yeah. Yeah.
We didn't play with that rule. You got one opportunity.
No, you can always. It just makes it really funny.
Well, because he's not in your hand.
There's the vision charm, phases out. Doesn't matter. You just cheat him into play.
Sure. You'd have to cheat him in your hand first.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So the duress from Jared here. What do we see? Is that a Forsaken City? Man, that glare is rough.
Island. I don't know what the middle card is. Might just be another island. Do you think it's a cheaty face? Is there any chance
It could be
a cheaty face?
It could be.
That would be pretty awkward. Do you think? I mean, you probably had to respond to the duress if you have a cheaty face in your hand, right?
Yeah, you probably do. All right, scoops him up.
Okay.
All right, so Dreadnought prevails.
Okay, that was
1-1.
That was.
We're gonna
I mean, it was
decide for
quick,
game
but
3.
yeah, that was enjoyable enough. All right.
That was good. That was a good match. I like that one. What's another unglued card there? What's the one where you have to name, the opponent has to name an artist, and then you have to reveal your hand, and if you have that artist, then you don't get to draw. Then you don't get to draw a card, or I don't remember how that one works.
I know it's from Unhinged. I don't know.
That one's really powerful. That's a really good card.
Why don't I know which card that is?
What is that?
I don't know.
Another one that I always scoop up.
This was it was so supersize was the thing, because so one of the themes was half damage, so it was +3.5 +3.5. Also, like, Keeper of the Sacred Word, and it was just like a 3-mana 2/3 that would get +2/+2 if they said the chosen word.
Yep.
Man, +3/+3 even. Oh, great. So man, it'd be pretty sweet if you could make your opponent say that word over and over and over. You just think it's like, this is what would be the best. It's like I'll attack. They'd be like no blocks, and you just like sidetrack them over to like just some conversation. You have them say the same word like 8 times, and they just die. That seems like persecute artist does artist evolve, but that's not the one he's talking about.
No. What is it? Astronaut's Coupon is really fun too when you're playing in a big group.
Yeah, that would be one that I've thought about putting that in my like regular cube. And I don't think it would be powerful enough, but it's kind of like, I don't know, if you're willing to play this card and like lose the EV of drawing this and whatnot, you get your free drink or whatnot, or make your opponent go get you a drink.
Yep. It was in.
It had to be
Unhinged,
because that had the artist sub theme.
Yeah. What was it?
Well, it reminds me of the card from like Mirrodin, which is like a lair or something. I don't remember, but I don't know if it has like a similar card name.
I'll find it. I'm letting them know that they can get started.
Okay. You're not like messaging them, asking them if they know what the card is?
So it's My First Tome. You
okay.
tap one, you pay colorless and tap it. Say the flavor text on a card in your hand. The target opponent guesses that card's name. You may reveal that card. If you do and your opponent guesses wrong, you draw a card. It's really good. Really, really good.
Well, I remember the other card in my deck was Number Crunch.
So we got a duress from Jared. He goes down to 19, and we see 2 Chain of Vapors, an Arcane Denial, an Impulse of Stasis, and an Island in Ron's hand.
So this one was pretty sweet. It was a bounce spell for 3, but the gotcha was if they ever said a number. So like you'd be like, "What's your life total?" They'd be like 17. It'd be like, Do you think Ron would play this in his Stasis deck?
Oh yeah. You'd have to just do hand signals. You're like, If and when the pandemic is finally over and we can all meet up for some kind of a tournament at some point, I'll bring the unglued unhinged cube, and if people get knocked out, we can draft. It's a blast. It really is fun. Or maybe the night before we can go to a bar or something, or or draft in a hotel room or something.
I'll even agree not to go like full tryhard mode, and I will not just clam up and not say anything.
Excellent.
So.
Sounds good. So it looks like he takes the stasis. Ron passes. Another tap from City of Brass here, putting Jared to 18 and a portent.
Who do you target?
Looks like he targeted himself. All right. Draws the card during Ron's upkeep. Or waits, because we got an end of turn impulse.
Okay. Like you have unopened packs of unstable. Okay,
Unstable, yeah.
Yeah, I have not played Unstable, and I don't know the cards of that one as familiar. I mean, like I know the themes and whatnot, but I've never looked at like the full spoiler. I don't think.
I've got a couple boxes of it as well. If people just want to draft it.
But that one probably. I mean, like there was like 10 or 15 years between that and Unhinged, and
yeah, I don't have it in my cube. My cube is just unglued Unhinged. It's
okay.
not. I have the unstable cards, and I've thought about adding them, but they're just so different that I haven't done it.
I just know that like they're meant to be drafted together, so I think the draft experience might be a little bit smoother in terms of not having those hiccups of like not wanting to say anything. Like that's obviously not a fun mechanic. So
yeah, they are definitely different. It's fun to draft, very fun to draft, but it's not part of the cube. So we see a powder keg from Ron on his turn, and then on Jared's turn he plays a Mesmeric Fiend. We see the hand again. 2 Chain of Vapors, a Ensnare, and an Arcane Denial, it looks like.
Okay, so I know earlier I had talked about a Meddling Mage coming down, and that would be like he wouldn't have any way to remove it if he named Chain of Vapor. Powder Keg is a card to blow up a Meddling Mage. I mean, he's probably wanting to draw or blow up a Dreadnought, but it's a way to deal with a card that I said was. So it looks like Chain of Vapor was taken.
Yep.
I really like Chain of Vapor in terms of like there's certain decks that just typically don't have that many non-land permanents, and it being able to bounce stuff for 1 mana is really good. And there's even been instances where you bounce your own stuff multiple times to build the storm count. I've done that.
So I've seen, and died too.
Oh, I'm like, what is that red card? But I think it's a post-it note. So
it's a Mesmeric Fiend. Advertising Chain of Vapor.
All right.
So he's going to spin it around here in a minute. You'll see. So another portent from Jared here. Beats for 1.
The first damage that Ron took? Yes.
Yep.
What's Ron looking up? Or not Ron, Jared.
I don't know. Just making sure that he's not messaging us. Doesn't look like it.
He's probably looking up Unhinged cards.
I mean, it's pretty much the most exciting thing going on right now.
I don't know.
I jest. This match is actually good.
Yeah.
The first one was a little boring, but game 2 was good, and this one's more interesting as well. I'll stop hating on Stasis. Sorry, Ron. So a fetch from Jared puts him at 16. He takes his turn, ponders his options, wishes he could play Ponder.
Sure.
And instead plays a Flooded Strand.
What do you think is the best blue 1-drop in Premodern?
Probably Chain of Vapor.
So when you say I mean, a lot of times when I hear 1-drop, I think creature. and it's pretty slim pickings, I guess, for blue 1-drop creatures. But if you're just referring to spells,
I really like Chain of Vapor.
well, I guess let's put other contenders. Portent, Sleight of Hand, Force Spike, Peak. Spells.
Careful
okay.
Study.
Careful Study. Yeah, Stifle, Vision Charm.
Blue Elemental Blast and Hydroblast.
I mean, it's probably Hydroblast. That's probably what I would say.
Hydroblast is pretty good.
I guess you can make the argument that it's not that important because there's another card that is functionally the same, and you don't usually need 5 copies of it. So it's not that important. But I mean, in general, I think that is the most powerful one.
I don't know about you, but I never leave the home without at least 4 copies of Hydroblast. You never know when you're going to need those things.
Someday I'll meet you. You will not have 4 Hydroblasts on your.
Oh, we'll see about that.
5 years later.
It'll be 4 Hydroblasts in a cheaty case.
Yes, yeah. I do carry a Cloud Goat Ranger around in my wallet. If you think I'm lying.
All right. So,
see?
Looks like Arcane Denial is what he named? Yes, I believe.
You think Arcane Denial is named?
I think that's what he named.
It's
yeah,
tough.
Looks like it.
He might have just been looking at the deck list when he was looking at to see like what card he wanted to name.
So chat says Disrupt is a seriously underplayed card. It has potential, but I've tried it in some decks, in some playtesting, and it actually hasn't been very good for me. It could have just been those matchups, but I think Force Spike is better. So Jared swings in with the team. Ron goes down to 15.
So you've tried to brew certain pre-modern decks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever tried to make this card work once it shows up?
All right, give it a second. There's a stasis from Ron.
Do you see it now?
Not yet. Meddling Mage is still there.
All right, it's Mask of the Mimic.
Oh, wow. That's old school. No, I have not. Is that your vote for best blue 1-drop?
No. One card I don't think anyone mentioned was Curiosity. I don't think it's the best,
good.
but I mean, like, I think it's an underplayed card, I guess, because no one plays it. But the problem is it's just like, it's hard to put eggs in a basket on a creature because most of the time they're just underpowered in this format relative to the spells.
I think I like Unearth better in Pandanaut than Mask of the Mimic myself. Anywho, what do we got going on? So there's a Scylla Cleansing from Jared.
Yeah.
Ron's trying to decide what he wants to do here.
That-
Only 4 mana to work with, but
That
full
powder
grip of
keg's
cards.
at 1, right? Or has he moved it up to 2 at any point?
I can't tell. Why not both? Fair enough. Stifles the keg.
Oh, that's cool.
Nice.
I think Panda Dread is Pandemonium and Dreadnought.
Pandemonium Dreadnought. You run sneak attack as well for other creatures. Sometimes. Some versions do.
Which set is Pandemonium from?
Exodus.
I'm sure I didn't spell this right, but...
EXODUS.
No, the Pandemonium.
Just kidding.
What is
I
this?
know.
Localized image not available? I've never seen that. But
So
Chain of Vapor is removing. Wait. It doesn't balance both things unless Jared wants it to. Okay. So we have a Chain of Vapor that's targeting the Meddling Mage. And you thought that was Arcane Denial?
that's what I thought it was on, yeah.
Alright, so that's just to save some life. I mean, he's probably countering this on the way down.
Yep. There's the Arcane Denial. To Ron's credit, doing a lot here with not a lot of mana.
Ooh, so...
Here comes the Dreadnought and the Vision Charm.
Okay. We got 1 mana. There's another Chain of Vapor. So he's doing this in response to the Dreadnought.
Last card is a Daze.
Yeah, so...
Oh, wow.
Interesting, like... Oh, there's a Thwart. Okay.
Yep.
I mean, from Ron's perspective, is there a reason to cast Chain of Vapor right there? As compared to, like, passing and doing it during the upkeep when it faces back in?
I mean, Jared only had one other card in his hand.
All right, fair. And I mean, like, if you know that you have, like, at least a way of beating the days, then... So... I mean, you have to give the edge to Ron at this point, right?
Yeah, Jared's pretty low on cards. Granted, Ron only has 1 island, but he's going to very quickly make his way back up to plenty of land on the battlefield.
That's a Black Vice or
Black
is that a
Vice.
Howling Mine? I
Black Vice.
didn't think he played Howling Mine.
No. And Jared goes to 12.
I did like Howling Mine when I played it in Stasis.
It's fun to draw cards.
Oh, you did get to draw 2 from the Arcane Denial? Can this little 1/1 go the distance?
I believe in him.
I don't think it can. I mean, like, I think he needs a supporting cast if he wants to get it done.
Other fiends. Oh,
Alright,
no.
that is
It's like
quite
another
that is
Dreadnought
quite
and a Stifle.
a supporting cast.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Oh wow, this is...
We've had some crazy draws in these matches.
Yeah, because if he had nothing, he just drew those 2 cards in the top 3.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Stasis, but that doesn't do anything, right?
Nope. Does he have an Ensnare in his hand, maybe?
Maybe. Ooh. That'd be juicy.
Is that what that top card is? I think it is, yeah. It's an Ensnare.
Right, let's bring that one up.
Yeah. Pretty good.
All right, so there's hope for the mono blue Stasis deck. Lotus Petal. But yeah, Ron is... I mean, he's got lands to play, but he's never...
He'll draw into a Forsaken City
Yeah.
sooner rather than... Yeah, he's
Plus, but like,
cards deep.
yeah, Jared has so much mana that he can like play other threats. But yeah, I guess he only gets to attack with this once.
Yep. So
All
what do
right.
we see? 3 islands and... man, that glare. An Impulse, maybe?
I think one of that might be a Arcadian Mass counterspell. Or is it a Gush? It looks like a Gush.
I think it's a Gush. I think it's a Gush,
Gush
and
and
an Impulse.
Impulse.
Yeah.
Gush was taken. Yeah, Gush seems like a good one from that spot. All right, so Stasis is paid for. Island comes down. He says go. Jared's got a lot of lands, a lot of cities of brasses.
It's just brass.
Which actually like could be relevant because it might be the point where if Jared does start taking damage from Black Vice, then he might not be able to tap those cities of brass.
Yep.
So
That's a good point.
because Jared is at 12, he's taking a lot of damage. He's dealt 8 damage to himself. All right. So, is there a reason not to attack with the 1/1?
I don't know. I don't think so. It's going to get in its damage at some point.
Yeah, because I mean, does it have any value being untapped? So Forsaken City is in play, so that's I think he still has islands in his hand, but that's a way for Ron to get advantage, but he doesn't have that many cards in hand, so that one's from Plane Shift, I think.
It's from it's from Plane Shift.
Yeah, so
Jared cracking. Nope, not cracking. Decides not to.
he's making
thinking
room on his
here.
board. He wants to play.
Looks like a dreadnought-shaped hole in the battlefield.
I was gonna say Meddling Mage, but
I think you might be right.
all right, he's fetching. Well, he
He's
wouldn't
counting
need
his
to.
basic
He
lands,
wouldn't
maybe.
fetch if he were doing Meddling Mage. So, how many basics does he have in his deck? Oh, he's got. So, if you phase out the tapped one, does it come into play untapped or tapped? Which,
I'm-
wait. What is the interaction? I thought the interaction with Vision Charm that it just doesn't come back into play. Like, because you skip your untap step, and I thought phasing comes back on your untap step, and I thought
It comes in before the untap step. I'm pretty sure.
I thought this has come up before, and it just never comes back. I mean, it's not going to say on here.
What is the stasis mechanic, or what is the phasing mechanics say?
I mean, it doesn't say on this card, so I don't know. I don't have
Right. I mean, if you look it up, the
I'm gonna Google this.
should we tell them to hold on?
Well, I guess.
We got a ruling here. No, it looks like it doesn't come back.
Yeah,
I found a ruling from 2011 from a level 3 judge who said there's no untap step, so phasing in and out won't happen.
Yeah, and I don't think it'll ever come back, given that one is skipped. So.
Yeah, during each player's okay. Yeah, it's gone.
I mean, you could take that line just to get cards out of your hand, but you.
Thanks, chat.
Okay, so he's chain of vaporing his own stasis. So the cool thing about this is now he's able to untap all his lands and have the stasis back in play. He has the option to copy it again. So he's like, oh, I don't want that Phyrexian Dreadnought in play. I'm going to sack one of my lands and then copy it. I mean, it comes at the cost that Jared might bounce a Black Vice, but that's not that big of a deal.
Yep. So Jared's in rough shape here now.
Yeah. So stasis comes back down. But yeah, like Jared's all his spells are really cheap, but he probably doesn't even have that many more lands in his deck. I'm just trying to think if he's going to try and stay under the Black Vice, but I don't think that's that realistic of a possibility. So we see a gush from Ron. He picks up islands and draws 2 cards. Pays for stasis. Plays an island. and passes.
So we're getting close to time here.
Do you know what time we started at? I don't.
I do, but we also took some extra time for the giveaway, and also while we were chatting about unglued stuff, I think they were ready to play.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, from the situation, what does Jared need to do to get out of the stasis lock? I mean, he almost probably like needs to not just play anything, but then he's gonna die the black vice, because it's like playing cards will turn on Ron's days and thwarts, as compared to like you might just get him to a spot where he can't pay for stasis anymore. But I guess he has Forsaken City, so that's really unlikely. So here we see a gush, picks up 2 islands. Oh, there's a. I guess yeah, Jared's happy to play a daze because gets it out of his hand, and then he has another untapped island. And then there's another one. All right. Thank you.
Hey, 90s MTG, welcome.
Thank you for the raid. For those just joining, we are watching the third game between Jared and Ron. Jared's playing Esper Stifle Knot, and Ron's playing Stasis. And Jared's been under a Stasis lock for a few turns now, and he's not been taking too much damage from the Black Vice. The second one just came down, but it seems like it's going to be a tricky situation for him to get out of.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, a Duress reveals an island, a daze, an arcane denial.
Scoops him up.
2 thwarts and a gush. And that's enough for Jared.
All right. Alas, wasn't enough to overcome the stasis threat.
All right, we're gonna bring the players in to see what their input was for sideboarding and how the match went. So Flint, you want to let them know they can be unmuted?
Yeah, let's unmute him in here and talk
Or they
about
can
it.
unmute us.
Interaction at that time, so I needed to adjust something right there. But,
yeah, had it been a stifle instead of a vision charm, you probably would have won that game.
right, exactly.
Oh, I guess they want us to unmute.
Well, tell them I need a minute.
You guys are unmuted on the stream. I don't know if, I don't
We
know
can hear you.
so, yeah.
Okay, I'm unmuted.
Hey,
I need
congrats,
to-
Ron.
Thank you very much.
Ooh, can we first talk about how you guys thought or went through the banning process, and what were your thoughts there?
Go ahead, Jared.
I banned the best deck in the format.
Okay.
Seemed pretty easy. The one that was most interactive, the things that slowed me down the most. I figured that was probably the biggest problem. That was basically it. You know, Landstill is just like it has game against everything. So, and I mean, Goblins is pretty good against it, but I didn't want to try to fight through it if I didn't have to.
Ron-
I banned the Angry Ghoul because so the 2 decks that can actually answer it are Stasis and Landstill, and you have to have exactly Chain of Vapor or like a foil early, or exactly a Swords to Plowshare. So I just don't like the matchup against Angry Ghoul when you really are looking at 4 to 6 outs.
Okay.
That you have to have in your opening hand. So that's why I banned that one. And then with him, so that answers that question.
Yep. Yeah, I hadn't brought up the point. I was thinking, if from Jared's perspective, if he's looking at Ron's deck of Landstill and Stasis, because they kind of function on a similar axis. They're both like control decks, and because both of your decks involved kind of going all in on either a Stifle Knot or a reanimated Soldier Ghoul, that like Swords to Plowshares or Chain of Vapor are pretty functionally the same card, that you said like, well, I can't ban both of these decks, so I'm just going to ban the Reanimator deck and hope he doesn't ban Goblins or something. So
Well, I didn't ban Reanimator in case he wants to play it, and I felt pretty good against that matchup. So I might as well ban the hardest matchup for most decks, which is the Lancedale.
Well, I was thinking, I'm like, I think you want to play Goblins in this matchup, and you don't want the Goblins against the Reanimator deck. You would be okay with the Goblins playing against the Landstill or the Stasis. So if you ban the Reanimator and hope he didn't ban Goblins, then you have a decent shot.
I didn't have a chance to come on, because I just been banned every year too. So
Fair enough. How did you guys board?
I did not board.
Okay.
That's what we expected.
Yeah.
Jared?
I just took out like the Winter Orb and a couple of peaks for 2 Mesmeric Fiends and a Disenchant.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I kept it
I
simple.
could have put in. Sorry, I could have put in Stifles because I knew Seal of Cleansing was in there.
I joked about it that you could have stifled his own Dreadnought.
Been a gentleman.
I guess
wait, Jared, I got this.
I guess he doesn't even give you priority, so he doesn't even like give you an opportunity to stifle it. He's already stifling it before you get a chance to. But
Yeah, we had some crazy stacks there. There was a couple of stacks that were just wild.
Oh yeah.
Good classic blue magic, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the last match came down to that if my Vision Charm was a Stifle, I probably had it, because that was my chance when he was low on resources. And it's just, unfortunately, like with the phasing, it comes in during the untap step. And with the untap step is skipped from stasis.
Yeah, so that situation, because when the turn before it, you had nothing in hand, right? But you had something that was Arcane Denialed? Or did you have cards in hand?
Right.
I can't. I had the.
You had the Dreadnought in hand because I just bounced it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had a bunch in hand. I had a fair amount in hand.
Oh,
I was
right.
just trying to make you go through like the Arcane Denial and make you use stuff to be like the final thing. Then hopefully that was going to be it. But, yeah, it was getting kind of tough once you got the untap with the Chain of Vapor. It was like okay, then that was definitely over. So.
Well, what really did it was when I got that gush back from under that.
Yes.
Mesmeric Fiend.
Oh, you didn't gush in response because then you wouldn't be able to pay for stasis, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, getting that gush back was huge. So, yeah, it was. I knew it would be a tough matchup, but I also had the chance to get in there early, and possibly just win it. But didn't have one of those opening hands, which was a bummer. But I don't know. I thought it was a good match.
Yeah.
I thought
You almost did game 2 if I didn't have the foil.
Right. Exactly. Right, yeah, I had the days, and you had the one island that you untapped. I was like, he had it, But foil sometimes it gets the job done. It's not pretty, but it does it, So
yeah, when it's 3 cards for your Dreadnought, I'm okay to spend my 3 cards.
Absolutely, definitely.
Well, that game 3 too, Jared, where you drew from the Arcane Denial and drew for turn, and then played another Dreadnought. We were all just like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
No, he was saying that he had that in hand, that he said it got bounced. That's what they were saying.
Yeah,
right.
I did get another one but then he ensnared and tapped them down. Once the stasis was in the hand, I was like, "Oh, I thought I had it," and then I forgot about the ensnare. He had it in hand, so. But there was only so much I could do. I don't have as many he has 15 counter spells, and I have.
There's a lot, yeah.
6 soft counters, and I was just trying to see what I could do with the fiends, and I think they got in a little bit. I was just waiting for one strike from a Dreadnought, and I think would have done it, but.
Yep.
Anywho, I don't mind playing Stasis. I think that those are games that we each played at a good pace. So I mean, what's the problem?
And people say Stasis is boring, but man, were those games interactive.
Yeah.
Games 2 and 3. I would argue game 1 not so much.
Yeah, that was a whole lot of back and forth.
Yeah. Definitely. So anyway, yeah, good games. Good games, Ron.
Cool.
You too.
Good
Jared.
games, guys. Thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem. We're each gonna go to bed now.
All right.
Sounds
Have a good night, guys. Good luck
Good
next
night.
week.
Bye.
All right. I will bring up the standings that we had. So this was the standings at the beginning of the week. So we see Ron will be moving to the top. He's 3-0-1. And then both Michael and Patrick had won their matches. So they're both 3-1. Jared falls to 2-1-1. And then So that would be the top 4 players. And then who else got a win? Robin got the win. So yeah, the top 4 actually doesn't change. The positions just change, but so that we're looking at 7 weeks of play, and so then we cut to the top 4. So that, I mean, Ron is settling in. I mean, I don't know if he's locked for top 8 or for top 4 at this point, but he definitely has a very comfortable lead.
Absolutely.
I do have more get to know you slides, some with a few questions. We'll cruise through these, so if people want to go back and watch these or whatever, they can. But I guess if there's any of these that stand out to you, we'll just go over them. Do you know do you know what the flavor text of the card that he's referring to is? I don't know if
It's not up yet on the stream, so give me just 1 second.
So I guess I'll read it out loud. It's
all right. Step 1, find your cousin. Step 2, get your cousin in. Oh, it's Goblin Cannon or
very close. I think you're probably thinking it's Fodder Cannon.
Fodder Cannon. Yeah, Fodder Cannon.
Yep.
Yeah.
The reason I know this card is because it came in one of the 8th edition pre-constructed decks. So there was one of each color, and they were monocolor, and the red one was a Goblins deck, and there were 40 cards. And so my aunt knew that my brother and I liked Magic cards, and she would get it to us every holiday, Christmas or birthdays or whatnot, probably thinking that they're like random cards, but we would get like the same pre-constructed decks over and over, probably because they sat at Walmart or whatever and were discounted, and so we kept getting like a bunch of these 8th edition themed decks and whatnot. So
nice.
We had a bunch of those. Favorite sport is curling. Do you watch curling? I watch it maybe every 4 years, a little bit when it comes on the Olympics.
When it's on the Olympics, there was a place when I lived in Milwaukee, out in I think Wauwatosa, where you could go and do curling if you were interested. I never made it. I never was able to go, but I've heard it's fun.
I mean, I know there are clubs, and I know there was I remember when I was younger, there was someone that she was. I mean, we were probably like 15 at the time or something, and she played a bunch of curling. I know, and one of her goals was to play on the Olympic team as,
nice.
as a young kid. So, and Andrew chose Pirates over Ninjas, which I can support. So also it says which card do you think you've cast the most? And he said Forest. So I guess if that's what Andrew's answer is, does that give us permission to counterspell his Forest now?
I think it does.
You don't cast a Forest.
I mean, everybody knows it's either Exploration, Land Tax, or Argothian Enchantress.
All right. David's favorite sport is listed as Overwatch League. How much esports do you follow outside of Magic?
Mike, I'm an old man, and I don't have time for all of these things like I used to.
All right.
Know?
Well, so it's not Overwatch, but it reminds me of a story of League of Legends. Are you familiar with League of Legends?
I am familiar with League of Legends.
All
My
right,
roommate in grad school used to play it a ton.
So I've never played it, but I have obviously a bunch of friends that play it and whatnot. But I had made not an actual serious goal, but I'm thinking it'd be really cool if I learned a ton about League and then became an announcer, and then people would be like, "Oh, what's your favorite character to main?" And be like, "I've never played the game." I would get to the point where I'd be able to have useful commentary, and people would just think that I'm smart, and then I'd be like, I've literally never played this game. So,
before you move on, so his favorite Magic artist is Richard Kane Ferguson, and I believe you know this, but chat may not. Richard Kane Ferguson is also my favorite Magic the Gathering artist, and Dakon Blackblade is probably one of the reasons that I became so fascinated with Magic. Is one of my friends had the Legends version, and I saw it and was just like, oh my god, this is the coolest art I've ever seen. And just fell in love with his art. Solkanar, Dakon, Arcane Denial, that Boomerang alternate art that you and I talked about the other night. I love his artwork.
yeah, I guess
Nebuchadnezzar.
I think of Pillage, I guess, is the one I think of. I mean, there's none of the. I mean, obviously his art is very distinct, but none of I can't. It's weird. I can name some of the cards, but I guess none of them seems. I guess they all are at the same level. I guess, and that. To me, none of them are my favorite, but I enjoy all of the arts, I guess. I don't know how to explain it because, it's a really cool style.
It's just, it's very distinct. But the old Legends cards for sure. Blackblade, Solkanar, Nebuchadnezzar, I can never say it, but Hazazon Tamar, or however you say it, like
That's
really
the,
cool.
the for Naya guy that makes sand tokens.
Yeah, makes the sand warrior creatures. Yeah,
Yep.
love
Love
it.
He thought he might have cost Thoughtseize or Spellstar's right. So I don't know if he played a lot in Lauren Block or if he just played that or going on. But like, so those are some spiky cards in terms of like.
Oh yeah, I played against the Fairies deck quite a few times in Standard.
I was a Kithkin player during that block. I PTQ'd that. That was the first PTQ I ever top 8. It was with Kithkin, so I kind of fell in love with that deck. So I was always on the Kithkin side of Fairies, the Fairies versus Kithkin matchup.
Very nice. I played Kithkin and as well,
Right.
and Red.
Jared says best flavor text is oi oi oi. Do you know what that one is?
I do not.
It's the old intro. It's like 2 in a red for a 2/2 that can regenerate for red.
It's a very old schooler.
Well, I mean, Jared is very involved with the old school community. So.
Oh, absolutely.
So he hosts the New England old school tournaments, I think.
Yep.
And favorite sport is baseball. Are you a baseball fan?
You know, I'm not a big sports fan outside of soccer, so you know, in terms of how most Americans would view me, I'm not really a sports fan. But when I did, again, Wisconsin, great state, went to a ton of Brewers games and had a lot of fun. Went to a lot of those, and you know, I'm definitely a fan of the Brew Crew.
I was gonna say, like, I don't enjoy watching the sport, but the experience of going to like a Brewers game is a very fun experience.
We are on the same page.
So yeah,
it's a blast, and the people are so nice.
So,
oh man, so fun.
So he thought he has cast Ustin Troll. That's the one. Yeah, that's the one.
Thanks, Robin.
Lightning Bolt. Yep, good old standard Lightning Bolt. I mean, that makes sense, especially if you play. I mean, that might be mine. I don't actually know what I would pick, but that's a good one because it's cast in like every format that you play, especially Jared's personality. He likes the red decks, so that makes sense.
I think mine would probably be Counterspell.
Okay.
Honestly, just straight up Counterspell. Played a lot of blue decks throughout the years.
I mean, I'm trying to think if like mine would be like a certain card, like if it's like Dark Ritual, because I've casted it in a loop with Ill-Gotten Gains, because that's technically not infinite, but I have cast it a bunch of times. I don't know. So
fair enough. Well, it says excluding infinite combos, of course, but yeah, that's
fair.
You have cast it quite a few times.
Technically not infinite, like so. There's a finite number like with the Ill-Gotten Gains loops. So I don't know. He chose Pirates.
Yar.
So Mark Poole, how many Mark Poole arts can you name? I can name one, and that's.
He did a lot of lands, right?
I only think of Birds of Paradise. That's the only card. That's the only card I can think of from.
He's done birds. He's done. Did he do Ali from Cairo?
I have no idea.
He did Ancestral Recall.
That might be right. That would probably be one that I should know.
And I think he did Balance.
Okay.
And maybe the original Counterspell.
Oh, okay. I do like that Counterspell art.
And in the vein of Counterspell. Library of Alexandria. Yeah, good luck collecting all of his art if you're not an old school player.
Yeah. So to criticize, he said the card he cast the most was Llanowar Elf. That's not even a Magic card. So Llanowar Elves is the one that he's cast the most. So he chose also.
You showed him.
I don't know how often you read flavor text, but do you know any airtie flavor text? I mean, I can't think of. I mean, I'm sure I've read them, but none of them they have not retained. So
I think there's one where he's like, "Is that it, or is that all you got, or something?" Okay. Like, let me pull up some of those cards.
So he's kind of a pompous blue mage.
Yeah. So on the Wizard Adept was that it? That's what the Wizard Adept card says. And then, are there any other good ones? The Corrupted? No, that's not really a.
Well, I don't think he necessarily means cards with airtie in the name. I think it means it with it like noted as a quote, because there's probably like a number of cards that with the flavor text that are quoted as airtie.
Yeah.
Kind of like Jared Ballard would be, but Yeah, so
Yeah.
I can't I don't know which ones offhand would have Airtie quoted, but
Yeah, I guess I just know just the legend itself.
do you know what the flavor text for Root Greevil is?
Root Greevil?
Yep.
No.
Do you know what that
Let's
card
pull it
is?
up.
Oh, it. I mean, I vaguely know it. I mean, I know the joke, so.
Phrase enchantments, right? Oh yes, the root of all Greevils. I've seen this one before.
Yes.
So bad.
Mike has cast Swords to Plowshares the most, so it's a good one. We're over to Patrick. So said he said his favorite Magic card is Anson Maddox with a question mark. I'm trying to think of one card from Anson Maddox. Can you think of one off the top of your head? What is the most iconic Anson Maddox card?
Ooh.
I can't even think of anything. I'll feel bad. But
hold on. He's got a very distinct style too.
dad
High
jokes
Tide?
indeed. I mean, there's multiple of those, so I don't know. Maybe I think. Oh,
I think he did one of the High Tides, and I think
oh,
he
is
did
the original?
Animate Dead,
Oh, that may be right. Original Sungear Vampire.
Breeding Pit. I think he did Breeding Pit too. It's got a very similar art to Animate Dead. Oh, I'm looking him up now. Oh, he did Lord of Tressorhorn, Fallen Angel, Paralyzed Lure. Yeah, a ton of these. Llanowar Elves, the original Llanowar Elves art is Anson Maddox.
Okay.
Nullrod. Yeah, very distinctive style. Disintegrate, yep.
It's a lot more art than I realized.
Surrender the Free. Yeah, very cool.
Which
Oh,
card
God,
you have cast the most? He said Life from Loam. That would make sense.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
That. Also, flavor text greatness at any cost.
That's Dark Confidant, right?
Yes, it is. So.
All right, I do know that one.
He chose ninjas over pirates.
Ooh,
I can't agree.
watch out for him.
I prefer the pirates, so I don't know. Rebecca Guay is the favorite artist. I always like.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I appreciate her art, but she's not my favorite. Like, not even close. But yeah, I definitely can respect anyone who really likes her art. He said, I don't really sports, but I used to enjoy watching hockey. So.
Rebecca Guay's style kind of reminds me of Richard Kane Ferguson's, in that it's like a lot of that blended together, kind of in terms of the colors and the lines.
It's the watercolors. The only difference, like, Richard Kane Ferguson's, we talked about like at hard edges in art, and Richard Kane Ferguson has the hard edges, where I feel like Rebecca Guay blends everything.
Yeah, she does. Her art's really cool. Yeah. I like her art.
I
don't like it as much as Richard or the Foglios, but I do like her art.
What card is in all three of Robin's decks? I guess there's probably two cards.
Duress?
Yep. So that's, I think Cabal Therapy might be two, but
that actually reminds me, Mike. So one of the things did you listen to the new pre-modcast episode?
Yes, I did listen to
They had the suggestion that if, when we do a series 2, we should make it so you can't have more than 4 of any given card across all of your decks.
Yeah, unified.
Unified, yeah. We should talk more about that. I'd be curious to hear what chat thinks about that as well, if we did a unified format for series 2.
So I guess I think you could easily do it. I don't think, because I mean, I don't even know how much of the overlap is included in this. The only thing is like I don't think it really like creates. I don't think it really adds that much. It almost like, in a sense, might homogenize the decks that people play, because it like you just be like, I'll play a Sly, I'll play a blue-white Landstill, and I'll play, because you're just like not playing the same colors.
Play the rock.
And I'm gonna play like the best decks of these colors, and it might homogenize it more. So I think in theory, I think it might have a good effect, but I think in practice it might actually have a negative impact on what you want to do.
Yeah, I think I thought about it before we started this series, when I was thinking about the rules, and I decided not to do it because I wanted more room for brewing, right? I wanted more of Premodern showcased. I didn't want, the decks to be as limited, and I wanted people who are new to Premodern to see the variety of the decks that are out there and that are good, to really like kind of showcase the various decks. But I think that there's a big issue in terms of, one, you're right, it would stint creativity a little bit, but two, it would be pretty hard, from a mana perspective, right? So it really would kind of homogenize things. It's so hard to run multiple colors, and so you really do need a lot of the same lands across various decks. But we can talk about it more. We can think about it more
Yeah.
as well.
Yep. And Robin chose Pirates, which I can get behind.
Ooh.
All right, Ron. His favorite artist is Ron.
Wait, what?
His favorite artist is Ron. Ron Spencer. But
Got it.
Do you think Ron is a good artist? Like
Maybe
Ron
maybe,
Taylor? Like if you had
maybe he's an artist and it's one of his hobbies.
maybe, yeah. I mean, I'd be surprised, but I don't know. He doesn't strike me as the one that would draw, but I'd be pleasantly surprised if he's an artist. But Ron Spencer, yeah. So I'm trying to think what the most iconic Ron Spencer card is. The only one I can think of right now is like Skittering Scourge, and that's not the most iconic one. But his art style is very distinct. It's almost kind of close to Richard Kane Ferguson in a sense of like the edges are very similar, but like the difference I feel like is the foreground is really defined, but then the background is more subtle. While Richard Kane Ferguson kind of has the background almost has the same. It doesn't. It almost stands out as much as like the subject. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I gotcha.
I'm thinking of like Pillage as an example. Is like it's almost like it's hard to tell like on a first glance what is the focus of a Richard Kane Ferguson Pillage because the styles are all similar.
Right.
But
So Ron did Ether Flash and Body of Doll.
Terror. Yeah, that's probably the most iconic
Bone
one.
Shredder as well.
Bone Shredder.
Cabal Therapy.
Oh, I didn't realize Cabal Therapy was by him.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of Ron Spencer cards actually.
Diabolic Edict.
I think he does one of the swamps that I like from Invasion. Yeah. That's one I think of too. I didn't realize he did Firebolt.
I think he did Goblin Bomb as well. Now that was an underplayed pre-modern card. Someone build a Goblin Bomb deck.
Goblin Bomb? I don't remember.
You don't know Goblin Bomb?
Oh, you had to flip a bunch of coins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you get 5 fuse counters on it, it deals 20 damage to a player.
Oh yeah, he did Merfolk Looter from Exodus. He did a lot of actually like a lot of his cards are actually like pretty good in terms of like they're maybe not all staples in pre-modern, but they're like reasonable cards.
Yeah,
he did
he's done a lot.
Volrush Shapeshifter and Yawgmoth's Will. Those are some
He
iconic
did-
cards.
He did all the Infernal Spawn of Evil variants. Very important cards.
Might of Oaks,
Yeah,
Phyrexian Processor.
I love that squirrel.
Yeah, there's a good
Also,
number.
another baseball fan. We got a lot of baseball fans
Yeah,
in the group.
he likes ninjas.
A lot of Ninja fans.
It's actually been pretty
And
equal, I
Pirates.
think.
It's pretty split. Yeah.
So, favorite artists for Andrew is a tie between Ken Meyer Jr. and RK Post. I mean, I feel like he's somewhat obligated to say Ken Meyer Jr., even if he actually didn't believe it. But Ken Meyer Jr. does the Kurt Ape art, so I don't know what other cards does Ken Meyer Jr. do. I'm not sure, but
Get up.
RK
I
Post.
don't know.
What is the most iconic RK Post card?
So Ken Meyer Jr., Abu Jafar, RX Clairvoyance, Dark Ritual from Tempest, Urnum Jin, Guardian Beast, Kurt Ape, Mystic Remora, Thermokarst, Snow Devil, Word of Blasting. Not a lot of cards. Formation, Benelis Trapper. Yeah, not a lot. But definitely old school. So RK Post.
Yeah, what is the first card you think of when you hear RK Post? Mine's kind of a weird one. Oh, I guess those ones.
Morphling?
Oh, that's probably the first one that I thought of was Angel of Retribution.
Angel of Wrath.
It's
I
just
don't even. remember what.
It's
what
a
that
7
does.
mana 5/5 first strike angel. It's just from Torment as a rare. It's just because I think when I started playing was around that time, and like that was a card that stood out, and I remember the art and I remember the artist. So I think just for personally, that's what I know.
Gotcha.
All right, I guess we go all the way around because we did talk about Andrew with him casting Forest. So
We did.
we got through.
We
them all.
did.
All right. I think. Well, let me quick update this schedule, and then we can talk about who we have for our next stream. Okay, so here we just saw Robin, David, and then Jared and Ron. So on Monday we're gonna have Ron against Patrick. So Ron is currently in first, and Patrick is, I think, tied for second. So with yes, so that'll be another one of those top matches. So that'd be a match that could be really interesting. I guess either way, like win or lose, they still are probably in pretty good shape of making the top 4. But if like Patrick starts picking up a bunch of losses, then maybe he could be at risk. Sure. And then Robin against Andrew will be our later match. So other than that, I'd just like to thank everyone for who was able to tune in. Thank all our supporters, all the followers, and the subscribers. Thanks everyone for enjoying the Premodern format. Other than that, I guess unless Flint, you have anything to add, I was just going to say we will see you next week on Monday.
Yeah, I guess just really quickly, thanks again for tuning in, and thank you for the subs, and thanks again to Pascal over at Mythic Society for donating the $20 gift card that we could give away, and thanks to 90s MTG for the raid at the end of their stream. We didn't have much left for the raiders, but they're a great channel, and you can tune into them as well if you want to watch Legacy and some of the older formats. So
yeah, they're on Mondays and Wednesdays, right? The same nights that we stream, but they
start before we do.
They start before we do. So if you're not busy, you want more Magic in your life, they have some great content. They do primarily Legacy, but they'll do other formats. They've done, I think, any kind of Eternal format. So they've done Vintage, they've done Premodern, they've done Modern, they've done. I don't know if they've ever done Pauper. I don't know. That would be an interesting one.
I don't know.
But
yeah.
Every now and then I catch their streams, and yeah, they do put on a good show. So I think they play like four different matches while we only do 2. So yeah, so it's a cool production over there. And other than that, I'd like to wrap up the night just one time saying thanks again, and we will see you Monday.
Good night, everybody.